Front Yard Fantasy. I'm your host, Simon. Joined as always by my wildly handsome co-host, Jon Garofalo. Our friend Coop with us, aka Coop A. Fiasco. What's up, everybody, and welcome into the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on the Better Sports Network. I'm your never absent, always here host, Simon, joined by Coop and the Hog himself. What's up, boys?
Coop and the Hog. Coop and the Hog.
I don't know who those guys are, dude. Those guys
Never
only show
heard of
up.
them.
Those guys they have a 2-man show. This is a 3-man show.
So this is
totally
this
different.
Coop A. Fiasco and Jon Garofalo. He's
That's
not
right,
the Hog
that's right.
when I'm around.
No. The accidentally self-proclaimed hog. Right?
I go back into hiding.
Yes, I'm the hog, dude.
We got Craig in the chat saying Simon lives. I sure hope so. And Tommy in there saying there they are. The team
There
is back
they
together.
are.
The boys are back in town.
There they are.
And we got Better Boss in the chat saying no nurse outfit, Coop.
Yeah. So last night
How funny that someone says that sentence to Coop and he goes, yeah. Immediately launches into a story.
Right.
Yeah.
About that. Here's why.
Almost forgot about that. Yeah. So last night I was in Edward Ross. He's the marketing guru for Fantasy Alarm. He has a show on here, his rants, and that's a night show. So I popped in there like after the games or while they were still going, and I was, chatting around a bit. And he said, he was like, Tua is going to be a top 10 quarterback. If not, I'll wear a outfit for the full show that someone from the chat picks. Right. And I'm like, oh, wait a second. I'm someone from the chat. So I popped in there and I was like, how about this outfit? The nurse outfit from the Blink 182 cover. Right. And his mom was in the chat too. And immediately him and his mom were both like, that's the one. Right. Matt was in there. So now, like, I'm scot-free at this point. Right. It's like he has to wear it. He said so. I open my big mouth. I'm like, yeah, I'll match you on that bet. Like, if Tua is not top 10, keep in mind, I like Tua. Like, we talked about yesterday. I'm like a big Tua fan, but I'm like, I also am a big fan of fun. Smash that fun button. So I'm like, yeah, I'll match you on that. And I'll wear whatever. He's like, all right, what outfit are you going to wear? And I was like, I'll let your mom pick it. Right. So we go to break. Come back.
Big burn.
She picks.
We'll let your mom pick.
She picks, and this is very specific. She goes, one of those old school cowboy cheerleader outfits with the bra top and the midriff showing. So
If
Tua,
that's hot. That's real hot.
If Tua is a top 10 quarterback, that's what I'm going to be wearing for a full show on this show. So now I got to root against Tua, even though I like him, and I'm adding him on waivers in a bunch of leagues.
Coop, you're just about guaranteed to have to wear that outfit, I feel like. I really feel like Tua is going to just make you look silly with that one. And I'm here for it. We'll have to get a couple cheers from you on air, too.
I think we're going to have to, unfortunately, either or I'll just leave the industry. But I honestly, that's on the table. But yeah, as of now, Tua is he top 10? He's got to be. He threw 6.
Probably after throwing 6 touchdowns and almost 500 yards, right? Like you have to be through 2 weeks. That game alone might put him near the top 10.
He's QB5. So he's QB5 right now. Yeah, pretty scary proposition.
We got Maria in the chat saying, I think we should start planning your Halloween costumes now. Maria, here's how it works. You say, this is when we start saying we're going to plan our Halloween costumes, okay? You start saying like, oh, God, I don't want to do what I did last year where I waited till the last second. And like, you need to start saying that.
This is just you, Simon. This is just you every year.
Every single day. And then on October 29th, that's where you have the moment of, oh, shoot, I've done nothing. I have nothing prepared and no ideas. You spend about an hour on Google looking at 300 plus original ideas that are completely unoriginal and don't speak to you. And then on the 30th, you go to Goodwill, pick something out that relatively matches the color scheme of a children's TV character, and you just be that for Halloween. That's all you got to do.
Yeah, that's generally what I do. I used to have this thrift store that was actually pretty good for Halloween costumes. So we'll do a little something. We'll do a little something.
Maria said, LOL jail. That's us too. I don't think I've ever planned ahead for Halloween. That'd be weird. We had some news after last night's games that we need to go over before we start breaking down those games, talking a little bit about the doubleheader on Monday Night Football. Last night, Buffalo Bills CB Dane Jackson was taken to the hospital for evaluation of a neck injury after collision with his teammate. But some good news, he has full movement in his extremities. We'll keep an eye on that. But that was a nasty hit last night that Dane Jackson took by his own teammate. Scary watching his neck snap back like that. But hopefully the dude's okay. It's good news that he's able to move all of his extremities, and we'll keep an eye on that. We'll keep you guys updated if we hear anything else about Dane Jackson. We got the official news that San Francisco 49ers quarterback Trey Lance is having season-ending surgery to repair those 2 injuries to his ankle. So if there was any hope that he was going to come back this season, it's not going to happen now. Coop, in dynasty leagues, like if Trey Lance is on your team, so he's out for the season now, but expected to come back next year. How are you viewing Trey Lance? Are you worried about this injury affecting him long term?
I put him in the IR spot. He's young. I mean, we've seen Dak Prescott have a similar injury and come back from it. Obviously not all injuries are created the same, but in general, broken bones are typically not as bad as like ligaments or even, soft tissue injuries that linger. So hopefully he'll make a full recovery and be back. Obviously you're not dropping him over this. If you were, planning on him being a quarterback and competing now, maybe you have to trade to keep the ship afloat, but I'm just putting him in the IR and I'm keeping it rolling.
Yeah, I'm with you. He's still the guy that they drafted super high in the first round. He's still the guy they wanted to be their starter this year and had Jimmy G as the backup. He'll just be that guy next year. We're just on a slightly delayed schedule. Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy said the team won't know about Dalton Schultz's knee status until week 3, closer to game day. So we're going to be waiting on that Dalton Schultz news. If he's your starting tight end, you won't know if you can start him. But at the same time, we got news that Michael Gallup might be able to return this week. So Dalton Schultz is a no, potentially, but Michael Gallup is a potential yes. JL, if Gallup is back on this field, are you plugging him into your lineups first week back, first week healthy?
Absolutely not. Cooper Rush is the QB. There's
Coop,
no way
I'm you.
He's Noah Brown. Noah Brown's a megastar.
Megastar.
I think what happens a lot of times with these backup quarterbacks coming in is they have relationships already with certain players. Like with Dak throwing to CD and Gallup or whoever, Cooper Rush probably spent a lot of time throwing to like Noah Brown and Devontae Turpin, these guys. So they have some plays that worked in practice. They probably worked those in, but we've seen time and time again that as they roll along, they start getting better timing with the starters, and that kind of falls by the wayside. So I'm not really fully believing in Noah Brown at this point, and I think Michael Gallup's going to be the guy. Not starting him this week, but I definitely am stashing him in certain spots.
Yeah, seeing the targets that Noah Brown has gotten has been promising for Gallup's return, but we'll see if he takes over that role. And then Colts head coach Frank Reich said that Michael Pittman made good progress in his recovery and could play in week 3 against the Chiefs. So if you've got Michael Pittman, some good news about him coming out of that. We got some comments in the chat. Getting the game, Tommy saying, after a solid week 1, 12-4, I crashed back to reality in week 2. NFL is crazy. 6-10. 6-10 is hardly reality, Tommy. That's still, for a bad week, that's still a pretty good week. Like in 16 leagues, you could have gone 2-14 or something nasty like that. JL, now that 2 weeks are in the books, how are your fantasy seasons going so far? How are you feeling about your teams?
My teams are actually doing pretty good, all things considered. I did lose Scott Fishbowl, and I lost my flex leagues team this year. I'm actually 0-2 in the Fishbowl this year, which doesn't feel good, guys. Doesn't feel good. But otherwise, I think I'm doing pretty well.
For all the I love that for all the trash talk about Kirk Cousins, you drafted Kirk Cousins in like the biggest industry league that matters the most.
listen up. I am all about winning. If I can win, I'm gonna do it. So I will draft Kirk Cousins, old Greek yogurt, who got me. Let me check notes here. A cool negative 0.16 points this week in Scott Fishbowl. I will draft Greek yogurt if I think it's going to be better for my team, and I did in this case.
How that turned out?
I was wrong. And I was wrong.
Oops, dude. Kirk Cole's cousins. Dude, that,
Oh my
that
God.
Cole's picture is one of the funniest things. If he's referring to that, did you guys see that picture that he's talking about?
Yes. Yeah.
This guy's
I
rolling in
quote tweeted
Cole's
it.
cash.
I think I tagged Kirk Cousins in it.
Oh, good,
I think
bro.
I harassed him on Twitter.
One of the funniest things.
Excuse me. That's me just struggling to talk about how my fantasy season's going so far. It's not going well. It's been a rough start, but we got some promise. There was a lot of Elijah Mitchell drafted, and there was a lot of Darnell Mooney drafted, and a lot of Alvin Kamara drafted. And so not the hottest start for some of my teams, but it's all good. We got the win in Scott Fishbowl this week, 1-1. And it's all about that bounce back in the season. Coop, if you start your season 0-2, like right now, you're 0-2 in a league. Are you looking to make like big changes? Are you looking to make trades, or are you just kind of staying the course after only 2 weeks?
Yeah, I'm staying the course, dude. I look at a lot of them. There's not really any glaring ones where I think I could have done things drastically differently. Just situations where like you said, you started Darnell Mooney, you started Cole Kmet, maybe you started Hunter Henry or something, and like it hasn't panned out to
Maybe
now.
you started Kirk Cousins.
You got your negative points. Like you obviously adjust your lineup, but I'm not going to go out and make some crazy trade, because this is where I, in my leagues where I'm 2-0, I start to pray, right? Like I go around and I'm like, hey man, you need help here. Why don't we do a little 2-for-1? You give me your best player and I'll give you a brand new lineup. I'm like, it'll be a whole new world. I'm like, I'm like Aladdin out here. I'm like Aladdin out here with grand wishes, but secretly I'm like creating a super juggernaut on my team. I'm like, yeah, give me your injured guys. Like you can't be sitting there with Kamara right now. You got to trade him to me. So like, watch out for those trades, because this is when they come in when you're 0-2.
Maybe like a Mike Evans. Is that the kind of player you're targeting if you're 0-2, or if you're 2-0? Mike Evans potentially out another game next week.
If I'm 2-0, I'm going out and I'm trying to get those like high upside plays. I'm trying to pry them away from the teams that can't afford to lose anymore. So if somebody's sitting there and they're 0-2 and they have DeAndre Hopkins on their bench, I'm like, dude, what are you doing with like DeAndre Hopkins isn't going to help you if you don't make the playoffs. Why don't you trade him to me for, I don't know, somebody who's going to play like
Full 2 cent.
Anybody really, because you can be like, dude, 4 more games, this guy's not going to play for you. You can't afford to lose those games. I'll give you
easy sell.
Yeah.
Have you been successful with the strategy?
No, because everybody follows me on Twitter and they listen to me talk about football all the time. And they're like, this guy, yeah, right. Like they watch this and they're like, yeah, I'm not. They send this clip back to me. They're like, yeah, I'm not taking that trade.
Yeah, idiot.
But it could work for you guys.
I like that strategy.
Your league mates probably don't listen to Coop.
They have my rankings straight up, like they're published.
Maybe in week 2, that strategy is a little bit tougher. But if you get to like week 4, week 5, you know what I mean? Right on that line before like the 0-6, 0-7, 0-8 teams start trying to quit, where they stop paying attention. But that 0-4, 0-5 section, click on those rosters. See what players they haven't tried to make the trades, because those people, as the weeks go on and they haven't gotten their first win, are going to become more and more desperate to get the W. JL, I had a question for you, and you're in this league with me, so maybe you don't want to give me advice, but it's my first year playing in a Guillotine League. I think it's your first year as well, and something I'm sitting there struggling with. I'm laying in bed and I'm wondering, like, in a Guillotine League, what's the best strategy for using your fab? Like, do you blow it all early, trying to like load up on those studs?
I've had the same thoughts.
Do you go moderate? Like, do you just like pick up the scraps? Do you pick up the secondary players on a team? Like, not the Jonathan Taylor, but maybe you pick up the Cordero Patterson, the AJ Dillon, to try to like just build on these values. Because there's a lot of additional strategy. For those of you that have never played in a Guillotine League, each week the worst team gets chopped from the league and all their players hit the waiver wire. Completely axed. What's your strategy, Jail? What are you thinking in that league? Or Coop, I'll open it up to you as well.
I've been thinking about this a lot, actually, because this is also my first Guillotine League. And yeah, it's interesting. My strategy going into at least week 1 was don't spend too much on that first chop team, because it felt like this is week 1. Everybody's super excited. You see Jonathan Taylor on the waiver wire. You see Justin Jefferson on the waiver wire, whoever. You see these big name guys, and I feel like everybody's going to rush to go put in these high bids. Someone in this Guillotine League that we're in, it's an 18-team Guillotine League. Someone spent what was it, $1,000?
They're full
100% of their budget. Yeah, they're full $1,000 budget on Jonathan Taylor last week. And here's the thing is that there's a whole nother team that's chopped this week. There's someone who's pretty close to Jonathan Taylor.
Or,
You know,
I mean,
on the
not
waiver
this
wire.
week, but it could even be Jonathan Taylor. Like, that was the other thought that I had. Know what I mean? Like, you're going to end with only 2 teams down there at the finals. Every single player that's not on those 2 teams will be available. So players are going to be available more than once. Like, he bought Jonathan Taylor the first time. Like, he could still get chopped and lose him again.
Yeah, and like the way I view this is there's 18 teams, so it's just like I've 1 in 18 chance if all things are even to survive to the next week. So as long as I can stay above that mark, then early on I'm way more likely to not get chopped than later on.
Yeah.
Coop, what I say and what I do in those leagues are 2 very different things. what I say sounds a lot like what JL just said, and what I do sounds a lot like that dude dropping $1,000 on Jonathan Taylor. I'm like, wait a second, Jonathan Taylor? Yeah, right. I'm like, so I'm dropping $1,000 on Jonathan Taylor, first overall pick. That's
fair.
And then my team gets chopped and he's back on waivers again after the Jags beat him 24-0, right? So,
exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's just hard. It's hard to lay off. I do try and get those guys early, but I've also never won one of those leagues. So there you go.
So take that advice as you will. I'm not sure what I'm deciding. We'll see. We got a couple days before those waivers process. We are about to talk some Monday night football. We had 2 games, a doubleheader last night that we're going to go over. And then we're going to do our waiver wire bracket, talking through some of the best waiver wire pickups for this week. We'll be playing some poll perception a little bit later in this game. And then Jon Impemba from Fantasy Alarm is joining the show. So make sure you guys stick around. You're listening to the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Better Sports Network.
Better Sports Network is betting, fantasy, collectibles. It's sports talk done better.
First rule of negotiating, you got to have something to bargain with.
I feel like when it comes to trading in fantasy sports, there's too much emphasis and focus on getting the best player in the deal. It does not work like that. If you could get a player that secures you some depth, fills a hole, then you win. More than one person in a trade can win. But people just obsess, and then bad offers come where it's totally stacked. Like those crappy offers, Ron, where, yeah, you're getting the best player in the deal, but you're offering 5 other fringe players, thinking that combined they make up for that. Who deals with that crap? I see those trades, Ron, and when I'm seeing a 3-for-1, 4-for-1, 4-for-2, you know that you're getting someone's leftovers at this point for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, usually they're trying to give you a bunch of players to make it seem like they're giving you surplus and quantity instead of quality. So got to be careful with that. And, you could technically lose a deal on paper, but it helps your team improve. And that's always what you're trying to do. Everyone's looking to tell everyone, oh, look what I did. I ripped this guy off. It's about improving your team. If you have 2 really good quarterbacks, it's hard to trade a quarterback. Now, what I would do is if I somehow made a foolish mistake of drafting 2 quarterbacks in the first 10 rounds, or even the first 7 rounds, what I've seen many people do, and they're 2 good ones, is I look and be like, okay, does the Dak Prescott manager have a backup? Maybe he doesn't. Then I do all I can to trade. Now, you're probably not going to get proper return, because if that guy with Prescott is smart, he'd be like, well, why am I going to trade a receiver or running back? I can just go to the waiver wire, pick up Carson Wentz, Matt Ryan, Marcus Mariota, whoever it is. So that's the reason why that's a situation where you might lose the deal, but you're holding on to a guy that you can't really start most weeks. So you might as well make the deal. So you technically might be losing, thinking like, wow, I'm trading a QB1, but it's not doing much good for you on the bench. And if you're like, well, I'm just keeping this guy in case Josh Allen gets hurt, well, you're playing scared, and that's not a way to win.
The Playbook with Fensty and Ronis, presented by FantasyAlarm.com.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Better Sports Network. We got Albert over in the YouTube chat saying, good morning, Albert. Welcome in. And our boy, Sean Goglin. What's up, Sean? He's saying, good morning, guys. Miss seeing ya. Had to hit pause on fantasy this year. Doing Scott Fishbowl in a dynasty league, and that's it this year, and I'm happy about it. Got a little burnt out. And guys, this is a great reminder. Fantasy is supposed to be fun for you. That's 100% fair, and I get it. I was in 17 leagues last year, Sean, and some people can manage that. I couldn't. It lost some of the joy for me in some of those leagues, and I cut back to 12 this year, and I know that that's still a high number, but I can feel the difference, right? Like it feels better. I feel more involved. I feel more in tune with my teams, and I'm having a little bit more fun playing.
Next year, I'm going to see if I can just not play at all. Like, see if I can get away. If I can get away with it. Just come on here and talk about it. Be like, yeah, how'd you guys do the Scott Fishbowl? I'll be like, oh yeah,
I didn't lose this week.
Just show up to the Boston live draft and just like walk around and be like, everyone's like, who you got?
Hey, how's your team look? Oh, pretty good.
Just harass Mike the entire time.
I'm in the fifth draft. We're in the back room.
Fifth division. We're in the corner over there.
Room. Yeah. Feeling good though.
I'm actually in the Boston draft, not in the Boston draft. It's very similar, just right down the street.
Yeah. I did the Providence draft last week. Don't worry about it. Yeah, just talk about it, chat about it. So yeah,
just here to hang out.
That's the dream. So I feel you, Sean, for sure.
Also, Tommy had a question for us. Said he loved the Guillotine League strategy involved there. They wanted to know, what is your favorite type of fantasy league format? JL, what is your favorite fantasy league format?
For me, it's Dynasty. I love the process of building a team over time. To me, that added strategy really, really separates the game for me. And so it's what caused me to become a serious fantasy player, transition from casual to serious. So Dynasty for me.
Superflex or 1 QB?
I prefer Superflex, but I don't mind.
You don't mind?
Superflex just adds a little more strategy, which is fun. I'm always for more strategy and game mechanics in a game that I like. So yeah.
IDP or no IDP?
No IDP.
We are in one IDP Dynasty League together with a couple starting spots, and no one in the league has
a single person.
No one has any idea what they're doing with the IDP players. Coop, what about you? What is your favorite fantasy format?
So my favorite format is actually this league called the Baby Bowl that Rob Norton puts on. And it's super cool. You have the whole player pool to choose from, and you can only you have to make a lineup of 7 guys, QB, 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, tight end, and 1 flex. The rub is you can only use guys one time. So if I go out week 1 and I can make my lineup if I want. I can make it Lamar Jackson, Devontae Adams, Justin Jefferson, Christian McCaffrey, Jonathan Taylor, Mark Andrews, because I have Lamar Jackson. Like I can make that my lineup week 1, but I can't use those guys again the rest of the year. So it gets
that's pretty interesting.
Really
you kind of had to almost map out your season.
So I actually won last year. I got some. I'm oddly very good at this particular format. I think I'm in the top 10 again. There's like 100 people in it, more than that, and it's like you got like if you get a 1 week where like the backup is playing 1 week, like Mike Evans is suspended next week, so you got to look at that game and be like, here's my opportunity to get Julio in there, right? Like you have to really figure out what is like your 1 weekly chance to get somebody on an upswing. So it is crazy that league has a lot of strategy to it. I love that format.
That's pretty sweet.
I'm in that league as well this year, Coop. It's fun, but it is tough. It's a whole new dynamic to it, and I feel like an idiot. I wasted my Justin Jefferson this week. I got 10 points out of him, and that's fine. But like that's the one that hurts the most when I'm looking at it. When I know that dude can drop 40 points in a game, but instead I'm looking at a 10-point game from him. All good. I think Sorry, go ahead, Joe.
I was gonna say, I feel like that format would infuriate me though. I feel like I would be so mad when someone goes off and I didn't pick them.
Yeah.
Or vice versa.
I'll give you the hint. And you guys should join next year. It's a charity tournament, so anyone can get in. I always tweet it out.
Oh, I hate charity.
But I'll give you, that's the real downside. I think
the real downside.
The Baby Bowl. I think it actually money goes to like children too. So yeah.
Oh gosh.
Sucks. I know. But some goes to the winner. So there's a little redemption in the format. But so my strategy, I'll give it to you right now. I always do the tight end DFS article, so I always know the good tight end matchup. I do that, then I pair my quarterback with a wide receiver, stack them up, and then at the early part of the season, I use all the good running backs, the best running backs. I use like Jonathan Taylor week 1. I've used Saquon because running backs get hurt, and then like I use all the good running backs, and then they get hurt, and then I use all their backups for the rest of the year. And worked pretty well last year. I think no one was within 100 points. So that's my secret. Anybody in the Baby Bowl that's watching, that's how you win.
That's smart. That's actually pretty smart.
So it's the one league type where like you're not yelling at people for saying injury prone. Like you're like, no. Yeah, just use all those quote unquote injury prone players. Every player that I yelled at you for calling injury prone in the offseason, start them early in Baby Bowl in case they get hurt. Just ease your mind of that.
There are injury prone guys. They're called running backs, right? But it's like, last there's a reason Sean Siegel wrote, 0 RB and the RB fragility, but like, people are like, oh, dude, I didn't even get to use McCaffrey. I'm like, I used him week 1 because, he's a running back. He had 175 yards. So like, I'm good to go. Not in this year. I haven't used him yet. So got to get him in there, but yeah, use those guys up.
I see Craig in here saying, I think you guys should do a listener supplant league next year. It is a vampire league, but instead of draining the team of a player that the vampire beats, the supplant team supplants one of their players with one from the team they beat.
Ooh, I like that.
That would be so fun. I would definitely play that.
We could do a supplant league. That would be pretty fun. I think my favorite league format, I'm having like a redraft renaissance this year. I feel like where I've been all dynasty, and
redraft renaissance.
I'm falling back in love with redraft. Like it's fun. It's fun getting to draft your new roster at the beginning of every season. There's something great. Like the draft is my favorite part, and a redraft draft hits a little different than a rookie draft does.
Redraft, that's the Kirk Cousins of drafts. You just the Greek yogurt of drafts. Yeah, I like a good redraft half PPR league. That's my favorite format.
Yeah, preferably with people in the office.
Yeah. Exactly. My favorite league format is an office pool. It's with 8 people who have never played before, will auto draft and then never check their lineups. 2 people taking it like seriously but having fun, and 2 people taking it like way too seriously and not having fun. Or like they send you like a little bit too aggressive of like trash talking emails with weird emojis, like a winky face included from your boss. Like that's the kind of league I want to play in. Like you're going down this weekend, winky face with like their professional corporate email signature at the bottom.
Yeah, the worst teams that are ever drafted are the dudes that take it too seriously but don't know what's going on. So they instead just draft them. They just draft a bunch of sleepers way too early, right? Like those always end up being the worst teams. Those are my favorite fantasy gamers.
Where right before the draft they Google fantasy football sleepers.
Amon-Ra St. Brown in the second round.
They're in the chat. They're in the chat. They're just like, can't believe you guys let me get Rashod White in the 5th round.
Bunch of casuals.
Those are my favorite drafts too. Fantasy Doggy saying howdy, y'all. Howdy.
Fantasy Dog.
Squirrel Bob in here. What's up, Squirrel Bob? Saying beautiful morning. I haven't been outside
Squirrel
yet,
Dog.
So I'll take your
Fantasy
word for
Hog,
it.
Squirrel Hog. Everybody's
Squirrel Hog.
Squirrel Hog.
He said comeback wins in some leagues, and of course, fly Eagles fly. Yeah, there were plenty of points to go around last night for some comeback wins, depending on the players you had in your leagues. And we're going to talk about these Monday night games. There were plenty of points to go around for some of the teams playing last night. I'd say about half of them. The Bills in that first game of the night took down the Tennessee Titans 41-7. And I think that score is closer than the game actually looked.
Because that was the score of the third when they put in the backup quarterback and Derrick Henry took his gloves off, right? Like that was it. That was it. Derrick Henry literally took the gloves off. Like they showed him on camera taking his gloves off in the fourth.
He's like, I'm out.
Yeah, done.
Yeah, that game was absolute slaughter. It was, and they just kept piling it on. It felt like a little league game where they just have no mercy rule.
That's a paddling. Like even their backups got in there and they were like, "Yep, time to shine. We're better than their starters for sure."
Time to shine.
It's Khalil Shaker time, baby.
This is my moment, and I'm gonna take it. Josh Allen looked great for the most part last night, but I feel like there were a couple moments, like a couple flashes of last night's game where I was like, "Oh, I remember that Josh. I remember that Josh from rookie year." Where like he got a little flustered back there, and but overall, man, that dude is so good. But it was nice to see that he's like human still, right? That he didn't trade his soul to get rid of rookie Josh Allen.
Right, 52 completion percentage, Josh Allen. People forget how bad Josh Allen was. This is how bad he was. 52% is like completely unacceptable, right? The next year, he went all the way up to 58% completion percentage. that was good for 32nd in the league. So he went from unacceptable all the way up to merely terrible.
The worst
in his second year, right? Like to the way he went from unacceptable up to the worst. He went from you're fired up to you're probably still gonna lose your job. And then the third year they got Stephon Diggs and he jumped to like 68%. It was just the best quarterback in the league. But like people, the hindsight is crazy. The people that forget that we were looking at Lamar Jackson being like, he's gonna play with wide receiver. Like, no, he's not. He's the MVP of the league like 2 years later. So keep that in mind with all these rookie quarterbacks and even the second year quarterbacks that not everybody is Josh Allen right away. Sometimes you're Josh Allen right away.
God, but I feel like the one thing about situations like that is now it's going to be used for every rookie quarterback that struggles in the first 2 seasons, right? Like, well, Josh Allen turned it around in year 3. Look at the giant jump in accuracy that Josh Allen took. That jump in accuracy is not necessarily the norm, though. Like, you're not expecting that from every quarterback throwing 52, 58% the first 2 years, right?
No, it's never going to happen again.
It'll never happen
That's
again.
a ridiculous
Josh
jump.
Allen,
Ridiculous jump.
one of a kind, and his best friend last night, JL, your old high school best friend, Josh Allen stole him, and I think you're gonna have a hard time winning them back after that performance last night. 12 receptions off 14 targets, 148 yards and 3 touchdowns for Stephon Diggs. Good God, that dude is the man.
He's very good. He's very, very good.
Yep.
I think Stephon Diggs
That's
could
all I got
be
for ya.
the wide receiver 1 this year, guys.
Wow, what a bold take.
Hot take.
Hot take here. Dude has
Mike
150.
Williams top 10.
Dude has 100.
And Stephon Diggs wide receiver
I think
1.
Mike Williams could be top 10. I'm like, he's being drafted as wide receiver 9. So very strong take. Yeah. Then JL comes in. Dude has 150 yards and 3 touchdowns. He's like, I'm going to go on a limb here. I think
I don't,
Stephon Diggs
I don't want to piss anybody off, but
pretty good.
I think
Yeah.
the most targeted wide receiver in the NFL through 2 weeks, having the ball thrown to him from the best quarterback in the NFL, might be the number 1 wide receiver in the year.
I hate you guys.
I said might. Like,
You don't want to get
right
crazy,
now-
JL.
Yeah. Don't hold me to it, but if it happens, I'm good.
I will
I'm
victory
going to take
lap.
credit for it.
JL,
I will
at
victory
the end of
lap,
the
just
season,
letting
he's
you
going
know.
to victory lap this take, post a video of it. Like I told you guys, tried to tell you after his week 2 150-yard 3 touchdown performance that he was good, but you just didn't listen.
What can I
The
say?
guy who's currently the wide receiver 1 by 8 points. JL's like, I think that guy
I
could
think
be
he can
the
stay
one.
there.
I think he could be the wide receiver 1. Super scalding hot takes on this show, folks.
Fantasy Dog saying Cup will prevail. Yep.
Yeah.
Cup.
Hey, Cooper Kupp is the most
You know
targeted
what?
wide receiver in the NFL, Simon.
Is he?
Wrong
is he more
again.
targeted than Stephon
Yep.
Diggs? I thought Diggs had more
Yes, he
targets
is.
through 2 weeks.
He
Um,
does not.
He
Stephon
said
Diggs
4
is a
touchdowns.
cool
Been 2
number
games.
7 when it comes to targets.
I am
Mhm.
going to go on a limb here, guys, and say I think Cooper Kupp, Fantasy Dog's right, has a shot at being the number 1 overall wide receiver this year as well.
I'm not putting in
enough,
Kupp. I'm
dude,
not. I'm
enough.
not saying Kupp. I'm not.
These
I don't
takes.
think Kupp can do it. I don't think Kupp can do it this year.
Enough of these hot takes.
Absolutely.
Got to have the best wide receiver season like all time last year. I mean, I think maybe.
Coop, what did you think of tight end Dawson Knox last night? He seemed to be a little bit more involved in this game
Your
plan. It
guy,
was really the
Dawson Knox.
Stephon Diggs show, but Dawson Knox, the second most targeted player on that Bills team with 5 targets. Was it promising seeing him a little bit more involved? Do you think it's just going to be a game script thing? Maybe Gabe Davis being out, put some more targets his way?
I think that's what it is. Like, we know that historically speaking, to have top 5 upside, you realistically need to be a top 2 target on the team. Very few examples of guys finishing top 5 in fantasy without being a top 2 target. Like, we're talking Robert Tonyan, 2020. He only had 59 targets, which was actually only 4 targets fewer than the guy that came in second, which was Aaron Jones. So Aaron Jones was second with 63. He had 59, but he scored 11 touchdowns. So he snuck into the top 5. Outside of that, you have to go all the way back to Martellus Bennett in 2014. The team was like, it was like Matt Forte, Brandon Marshall, Alshon Jeffrey, and then Martellus Bennett. And, it was just super highly consolidated. Very rarely do you have a guy finish top 5. So like, those are like the most recent examples, right? So if you have Gabe Davis as the number 2 guy, then you realistically, you need to temper expectations and say Dawson Knox upside is probably back end tight end 1. But I mean, back end tight end 1, those guys have a place in the fantasy world. Just you got to look at it from that perspective. Where if you really are looking for game-changing upside, you want to look for guys who can be a top 2 target on the team. So that's my feeling on Dawson Knox. I have Gabe Davis ahead, but he can still be a guy that you start for your team. But if he's your tight end, start him and just use a bench spot, continuing to look for upside.
Yeah, I think I agree with you there. JL, on the rushing side of this Buffalo ball, we saw James Cook. I guess they trust him a little bit again this week. They benched him after his first carry last week. First carry, 1 fumble. But this week he got 11 carries for 53 yards compared to Devin Singletary, 6 for 19. Was this a case of it just being out of hand and James Cook getting some carries as a rookie, like getting these touches? Or do you think we're going to start seeing a more even split, maybe even James Cook take over for Devin Singletary?
No, I don't think this is indicative of James Cook taking over. I think Devin Singletary is going to be the guy there. They were way ahead. They were way ahead early in this game. So I think they want to see what they got in James Cook. That where they drafted him, they want to just see what happens. One play, 1 fumble that's not how the NFL works, right? It's not going to be like you're done. Your career's over. They're going to want to keep working him in. And so 11 attempts, 53 yards. It's okay. That's okay.
Coop, do you think Cook has any upside this year, barring a Devin Singletary injury? Like if they're all healthy this year, is there any reason? Can you see a world where you're starting James Cook in your lineups?
I don't think so. Not in my typical. Well, with an injury, I think I would consider it. But this was a complete blowout. That's the situation, and it's so hard to predict those that I don't see a world where you're looking at the matchup and saying, "Oh, well, the Bills are going to win by 30 tonight, so they're going to put James Cook in." So I think this doesn't change. It doesn't move the needle on if I'm going to start him. We need to see him get a ton of snaps in a normal game script for me to even consider it.
Yeah. What was the spread on this game?
10.
10? Man,
they covered.
They really covered it.
I was like, yeah, trap. I was like, trap game. No way did they not cover. Sal Capuccio came on, so they struggled with the Titans. Yeah, I was wrong there. Sorry about that, guys.
Yeah, they covered, and then they covered again, and then they covered again, and they almost covered a 4th time as well.
See Fantasy Dog in the YouTube chat saying, bringing up Tua and asking 6 touchdowns in a single game. Is that the record? I think we talked about this yesterday.
7 is the record, I believe.
And who was it again? Was this Peyton?
Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
Peyton Manning has the record with 7 touchdowns in a single game. There's a couple with 6. I believe Mahomes has a game with 6. Tua has a game. Like there's quite a few with 6, but 7 is the record if I remember correctly.
Exactly. That's just the guys you would imagine: Peyton Manning, Mahomes, Tua. I'm sure Tom Brady has one with 6 too, just because that he's a
Nick Foles says get in the game. Tommy, does Nick Foles really have a 6 touchdown game? Yeah, just your usual suspects whenever we're talking about the greatest quarterbacks of all time.
Big hog Nick.
Big hog Nick.
Before we move on to the Titans side of the ball over here, I just have to say, nothing gets me like hyped up for a game more than like pre-game Bills tailgate footage. Like of all of the like primetime games, whenever it's a home Bills game and they run around and there's some dude covered in ketchup and mustard screaming at the top of his lungs, 40 people diving through tables. Like, God, it just gets me so hyped. I love that. That's way better than any other Monday Night Football like pre-game fan coverage is the Bills pre-game fan coverage.
Bro, I have a Bills pregame story that doesn't have much to do with the Bills, but it's one of the most ridiculous stories that I've ever been a part of at a football game. If you guys are interested in hearing it, if we have time.
Yes, please.
Bro, so I used to do mortgages. We had this attorney that gave us, he was like, "You guys want tickets to the game this week?" And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely." Right. And he's like, "Well, the weather's supposed to be real bad." But me being young, I was like 22 or whatever. I was like, "Yeah, whatever. Free tickets is all I heard." Right. So we go to this game. I bring my buddies, Nick and Tommy, dude. And the weather is insanely bad. Like sleet coming down and just like hurting your skin. You couldn't even get a regular beer because your beer would turn to slush. Like we had to get like twisted teas, right? So I show up to this game.
You had to get twisted.
Exactly. Your beer would be immediately ruined.
Is it because the twisted teas didn't turn to slush or they tasted better as slushies?
Yeah.
They tasted better as slushy. Like I'm talking like the carbonation would be gone from your beer within a minute. With this,
you planned for the sleet.
Like if you ordered a Sam Adams,
you'll be good with ice.
Yeah. It would literally be like if you ordered a Sam Adams and they just like took like the snow cone scoop and just like threw that in within a minute. That's what your beer was like, right? So anyway, so I show up, dude, and I'm actually prepared for the game. Like I'm wearing like the full yellow raincoat thing, you know what I mean? And my boys are like obviously giving me a hard time. They're calling me like Perfect Storm and like Christopher Robin. You know what I mean? Like we're like walking around. They're like singing Yellow Submarine. You know what I mean? So like I'm just like whatever, dude. Like you guys,
your boys are funny, bro.
Yeah, they really are. They're assholes. But like we're all from Boston, so we're jerks. So dude, but anyway, so they're like, I'm like,
we're all from Boston with jerks.
I'm like, dude, I'm like, you guys, Christopher Robin. That one was actually super funny. So I'm like, you guys gonna be freezing though, man. I'm gonna be good. And they're like, dude. So my buddy Tommy's like, dude, I'm fine, bro. I got these special shoes, these special waterproof shoes. Like I'm good. And my buddy Nick's like, oh well, you know, I have these. I got these special pants. They're like fleece lined. I go fishing 4 a.m, dude. No problem. So I'm like, all right, whatever, dude. Like, let's go. We walk out of the tent, one step out of the tent, and I hear my buddy Tommy. He goes, "Oh no." I'm like, Tommy, dude. I'm like, what is it, brother? He's like, dude, my feet are soaked. Dude, I do a closer inspection on these special waterproof shoes. Dude, he bought water shoes. Like water, the water shoes you wear to the beach that like let water in on purpose. I'm like, Tommy, you are dumb as a sack of hammers, brother. I'm like, but it's like, you know, it's kickoff. So I'm like, all right, Tommy's getting frostbite. Let's go. So, dude, we go in the game, bro. We go in the game, dude. We're drinking Twisted Tea slushies, the whole deal.
It is water shoes. Is it the ones with like the mesh?
Yeah,
like
the mesh ones. Yeah, like he lifted it up and the water like drained out. I'm like, dude,
didn't he recognize that these are water shoes? Hasn't he ever worn water shoes in his life?
He's from Boston.
This guy's dumb as hell. Dumb as hell, dude. We're like 22 years old. Yeah, these dudes. So like, we looked at the weather. It's like, you know, Patriots favored by 27 over because this, you know,
what's the
Bills. Oh,
your Twisted Tea's turning into slushy, JL. It is
impossibly cold, though. Yeah,
32.
These are the guys that look at the weather.
Is this freezing?
For sure, frozen.
Below freezing.
Icicles coming down, brother. Dude, painful icicles coming down.
Sometimes there's ice from the sky, but on the ground it's hot.
Let me tell you, dude, it was cold, man. It was cold, but it was warm enough for there to be some puddles for Tommy to step in. So, dude, so we go into the game, and you know we have amazing tickets because obviously nobody's there. It was like week 17, so they didn't even start the starters. So we're sitting down there, and dude, getting crushed, drinking our like slushies, and I'm like, dude, we gotta move back because like we're so close. But if we move back, we'd be on the awning, and the boys are like, dude, we're not moving back, bro. Like nobody moves. If anything, we're moving up. I'm like, dude, no, we gotta move back, right? So, dude, after the first quarter, we finally get it. I'm like, I convinced him. I'm like, we're moving back. I get up. Tommy gets up. I hear Nick. He goes, oh no. I'm like, what is it, Nicky? He goes, bro, the fleece pants. I think they're frozen. I'm
they're
like,
water pants.
Dude, he's wearing jeans that have fleece lining inside, and they got so wet that they froze with his knees bent, dude. So like he is, dude. So he's trying to crab walk, dude. Ready? You ready for this? Dude, his like left leg like shattered. Like it legit like shattered because he was so frozen, dude. So like I'm walking around, like, dude. I'm walking around. So we're walking up to the awning now, and I'm the one singing Yellow Submarine. So like, yeah, that was the worst Bills game ever. One I alluded to the other day because that was the game where, you know, I drank so many Twisted Teas that I was in line for the bathroom. And if I had to do a 15-minute speech, I would have died. That was the day where I was like, that was the one that made me, I could not possibly have picked that.
You would have beat your pants, and then it would have frozen and broken your pants.
Yeah, so that's the story of Tommy Water Shoes and
that's a good story.
Frozen Pants Nicky, dude.
Frozen Pants Nicky.
Fantasy Dog's cracking me up in the chat saying, I hope Tommy makes it. And then a couple minutes later, I hope Nick makes it.
Yo, hey,
just
spoiler alert.
On the edge of the seat, like, did they make it?
Spoiler alert, dude. Nobody made it.
We all lost that.
Not me, dude. Not Yellow Submarine went down. Like, no good, bro. Perfect. It was the perfect storm game. So, yeah, Patriots won by 40.
We're going to keep breaking down these Monday night football games for you and then help you out a little bit with your waiver wire decisions. If you've got those waiver wire questions, throw them in the chat. We'll be answering those throughout the show after we're done talking this Monday night football. We're playing some poll perception a little bit later today as well. And then our friend Impemba from Fantasy Alarm is joining the show as well. You're listening to the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Better Sports Network.
Make bets and follow your fantasy team while you buy, sell, and trade collectibles in real time. Only on Better Sports Network.
We got to get a team in Honolulu. Like, what about that, Ray? You think Oakland? Like, nobody's talking about Honolulu for the Oakland A's to move to. How badass would that be to have a Major League Baseball team? Instead, they want to go to like where it's 120 degrees in the desert of Vegas.
Right.
Ray, they should pick up and go to Honolulu. That would be epic right there for the A's.
They could go to Honolulu, and instead of playing 12 games against a team throughout the course of the year, you just play a 12-game set. Just get it done.
What's the flight from the Bay Area? 4 hours?
It's depending which direction you're going, it's 5.5.
Okay, that's not terrible. You'd have to manage the schedule a bit.
Right.
But it's doable. Like, you play your West Coast games and then maybe you give an extra day. Like you play in San Francisco through Sunday. Mm-hmm. And then you have your Monday off. Everybody gets their Monday off and then they play, out in Hawaii for 4 games. Then they come back for the weekend.
It's very similar time-wise for us in California, in the Bay Area, to go to Hawaii as it is to go to New York. It's very similar. So, yeah, like you're saying, Giants do that to go to the Mets. The A's do that to go to the Yankees. They do it, so it would be very similar.
They would be they've already got the baseball background. I mean, they're dominant. The island loves their baseball. And Ray, you could even rebrand the team from the Oakland A's to the Oakland Lays. You can do the Lays, Ray. Look at that.
Good. That's actually, there's no way that would ever happen, but that's pretty good, Kyle. On the fly.
I'm giving away like free marketing right here.
Good work.
Right on the show.
The plan is for them to stay here, but the fans hate them. I don't know if the city likes them. They can't. I mean, it's embarrassing. I don't know. The plan
There's a lot of land in Hawaii. Just think about the views, Ray, of the Pacific. It would put your crap ballpark in San Francisco to shame. Like, everybody thinks that's a good view.
Right.
They'd have like waterfalls and real palm trees and the Pacific Ocean.
People trolling fire in the 7th inning
They would
stretch.
make the Giants Park look like, the vet in Philly. It would look that awful if they moved to Hawaii.
And then you go to your flip-flops or shorts. They serve Mai Tais. They give lays away. Or, the first 5,000 fans, whatever.
Well, everybody in the chat room loves it. Every time I get a compliment, I don't bring it up on the show.
Oh, okay, sorry.
I don't want to be that guy.
Call, chat, enter contests in real time. It's Sports Talk 3.0 with Better Sports Network.
Welcome back in, everybody, to the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Better Sports Network. We had some questions in the chat following this break, some waiver wire questions that I think we need to get to. Before we do that, though, I wanted to address, Tommy mentioned Nick Foles as a name up there. I assumed he was saying a 6-touchdown game. He said it was a 7-touchdown game, and I had to look it up just to make sure that was true. Nick Foles is tied with a couple other people, Peyton Manning and Drew Brees included, as being one of the only quarterbacks to throw a 7-touchdown game in NFL history. Nick Foles holds the record. I hope whenever someone finally breaks it, like if we get a Patrick Mahomes 8-touchdown game, they refer to it as Nick Foles' single-game touchdown record on air instead of Peyton Manning's or Drew Brees. Like they have to throw the Nick Foles out there.
Got it, dude. I mean, Super Bowl champ. I don't remember. Drew Brees did win one. Did Y.A. Tittle win any Super Bowls? Anybody out there? Y.A. Tittle fans? Did he win? I imagine he had to. He played for like 45 years.
He's a Hall of Famer, as indicated by the cross next to his name on the source I'm looking at. We did have a question in the chat. Coop, I'll throw this one to you first. Albert wants to know who's the better pickup at tight end, Tyler Higbee or Logan Thomas?
So for me, I'm going personally with Logan Thomas. We see him get ramped up, right? He had 62% snaps in week 1, 73% in week 2. Off the top of that, guys, what's up? Tight end guy. I'm not gonna get my
top of the dome.
Yeah, I just got those stats rattling around. So they're getting him ramped up. Last year in the first 3 games, he played 100% of the snaps. That is the high end upside for this guy. And I think he probably has an easier path to being a top 2 target in the team. And he's more athletic, converted quarterback. That being said, Tyler Higbee this year is having his best usage of all time. For years, I didn't like Tyler Higbee because he blocked on 20 to 30% of his pass plays. You can't block him more than 15%. But this year, he's basically blocking on none, running all the routes. So Higbee is a very safe option, but Logan Thomas, I feel, has the same floor but a higher ceiling. So Logan Thomas for me. But if you need somebody super safe, Higbee at this point, he's getting a minimum number of targets per game. So immediately Higbee has to be ranked ahead of Cole Kmet, Hunter Henry, Albert Okwuegbunam, like anybody that is capable of a 0. I don't think Higbee's going to be throwing up many zeros.
Yeah. Higbee, I do expect his some of his volume to go down throughout the year. I think Allen Robinson will command more targets, but right now he's getting significantly more targets consistently over Tyler Higbee. Over Logan Thomas. When I say consistently, of course, we're talking about 2 weeks, right? a two observation sample size here, so it's not very much. We could see this change, but I could see the same type of thing happening for Logan Thomas as well. He has a lot of competition for targets in that offense through the first 2 weeks. 6 targets the first week, 5 targets the second week. Curtis Samuel, Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson, Antonio Gibson now, JD McKissick, all these guys are going to want targets in this offense. And Curtis Wentz, oh my gosh, Carson Wentz is throwing to them. And so I'm not sure that he's going to be able to support all of these guys. And so to me, Logan Thomas's upside is a bit capped.
Yeah, I can see that, dude. But Van Jefferson's going to come back, and Cooper Kupp, I mean,
that's true. Yeah,
does Van get Jefferson's 10 to 12. Cooper Kupp.
He counts as 2 players worth of targets.
Yeah. 2.5, I'd say. 2.5 at least.
If Tyler Higbee had, because he's leading the league in targets, Tyler Higbee, if he had 20 targets, which he has, and he had 250 yards and a couple TDs, I'd be like, yeah, this guy's awesome. But he's got 100 yards on 20 targets. His ADOT is 2. So yeah, I don't know. Also,
they're just dumping off to him a lot.
Yeah, they are.
JL, we had another question in here from Jay. Wanted to know, would J-Rob for Justin Tucker and James Conner be a good trade? So trading away James Robinson for Justin Tucker and James Conner. So James Conner injured. This kind of ties into the conversation we were having earlier. What do you think about that trade, JL?
I don't even know how to think about that trade.
Ignore the kicker and think about it.
Yeah, just throw the kicker out. I know it's Justin Tucker. That's the one kicker that sometimes matters, and you're a Ravens fan, so it probably hurts your feelings just telling you to throw it out.
Then
$5 fab.
$5 fab. I'm taking the James Conner side of this. I think James Conner is still the guy in his offense. James Robinson, he's gonna have a thorn in his side named Travis Etienne, and I was hoping he would be the thorn, but it's looking like maybe the other way around.
Nope, I completely agree, though. I think Travis, Eno Benjamin is the thorn. Travis Etienne is I think he's a straight up, flat out better pass catcher than James Robinson. Yes. I think a lot of us would agree that, you know what I mean? And as soon as he gets up to, the pass blocking standards and stuff, I think the torch is going to be passed at some point, whereas James Conner doesn't really have that heir apparent type player. No, we don't look at Darrell Williams and Benjamin as as soon as James Conner moves out of the way, then these guys are going to step in and take over. That's how we look at it in Jacksonville. So, and that's what happens a lot of times if these teams end up being bad. Maybe the Jaguars actually look kind of good, but sometimes they just say, okay, you know what? James Robinson is not going to be part of this team long term. Let's start using the young guys. So I think I would take James Conner, especially if I was 2-0 and I could handle the Conner not coming back sooner. So give me Conner.
I'm with you guys. I see Greg in the chat saying early morning fantasy show. Love to see it. What's up, Greg? Good morning. We wake up every morning and just start talking fantasy to ourselves. So this works out instead of just talking to ourselves at 5 a.m. where we're sitting here talking to each other, or we're still talking to ourselves, but sometimes other people respond. Coop, this one's for you. Coming from Better Boss. Matt wants to know, I need a spark. Is Jonnu Smith a waiver wire gem?
I better be right on this one. It's the boss, dude. And yeah, thank God we have this show because, 5 a.m. I woke up I woke up my fiance and I was like, "You want to hear about the time my buddy Nick shattered his pants at a Bills game?" And she was like, "No, just wait until 7:30 and tell me.
Please go back to sleep.
Wait until 7." She's
Why
like,
do you do this every night?
She's like, "What do I look like? One of the hoglets? Like, wait."
You think I'm just one of your hoglets?
Wait until that story with the hogs later. You know what I mean?
Tell that to the hog later.
That's what she said. That's what she said 5 this morning. She goes, "Tell that to the hogs, baby."
I love your fiance already.
I was like, "You got it, dog. Go back.
You got it, dog.
You got it,
Bet.
dog. Go back to sleep." Yeah, bet, fam. Hey, it's her day off, so she doesn't have to get up till like 10. Anyway, what was the question? Jonnu Smith. Jonnu. I'm a Patriots fan, tight end guy. The thing about Jonnu, like I'm rooting for him. He has a place in this offense because he's really good versus zone out in space. The thing is, he only ran 13 routes, right? The team threw double that. So it's not a guy that you can trust for me. The team threw 40 times. He ran 13 routes. That's not going to cut it. You can find better than that elsewhere. DFS dart throw for Jonnu against, if you see a team coming in that is clearly a cover 2 shell zone team like Robert Saleh and the Jets, throw Jonnu in a DFS lineup, but too cute in redrafts to start a guy that's only running 13 routes. It's like starting Taysom Hill, and that worked out really well for everybody, didn't it?
Oh yeah, completely well. I mean, and it will work out sometimes, just like I'm sure Jonnu Smith will work out sometimes as well. It sounds like you're just not willing to take that bet. But I see Matt on here saying,
yeah, and I feel like Jonnu Smith is not a spark.
He could be though. I mean, like the thing is, Jonnu, people forget that this guy is a bulldozer. Like if you can get him the ball in space,
he's great.
On his resume, he's got like 54-yard runs, 60-yard like screens. So, I'm hoping you're right. I'm hoping you're right, boss man, that maybe they do get him going, that he is a spark, but you just can't trust him outside of DFS for now until I need to see him running minimum 60% of the routes, and 13 out of 40, not a big math guy, but I think that's like 23 or 22%.
Something like that. Coop, at the beginning of that, whenever you said Patriots fan, tight end guy, I imagine like you in like a corporate setting, like where everyone has to stand up and introduce themselves, like name's Coop, Patriots fan, tight end guy. Look forward to working with you.
Coop,
yeah, that's me though.
Coop, Pats, tight ends, hogs. Let's go. Go for Coop, hogs. What's up?
Coop, I can completely see just wearing one of those Bluetooth heads.
That was me when I was doing mortgages. Yeah, Coop, go, fire away. No, you're fired. You're fired. I'm going.
How
to
much
Bills.
do we have in escrow? Unacceptable.
Unacceptable. All right, gotta go freeze my balls off.
Where's the title?
Exactly. Shoot, it's like you were there, brother. It's like you were there. Yeah.
I know lots about mortgages.
Right. Us receiving Patriots tickets from an attorney, completely legit.
It's definitely not bribery.
Definitely on board.
We had another question in here from Fantasy Dog. You want to know, pick up Pearce and drop Walker, right? He's got Penny. So would you pick up Dameon Pearce and drop Kenneth Walker?
I think I would. I think I would have to, right? Like Pearce played a ton. Walker, is Penny hurt?
Was that the official analysis?
Penny hurt away? Is Penny hurt?
I'm not sure. Not that I've seen. JL, what about you? Are you want to make this move?
Lay it out for me one more time.
He's not hurt. He's fine.
Drop Kenneth Walker to pick
Walker?
up Dameon Pearce.
Yeah.
I don't think I could.
Why?
Because I want to see what Walker does.
So far, he's not even playing.
He played a little bit last week.
Exactly. Dameon Pearce, at least we saw Dameon Pearce get the bulk of the role. I mean, it was Rex Burkhead, now it's Pearce. I'd rather take the shot on that. I don't know. And I was off Dameon Pearce, and I loved making fun of everybody that drafted him, but he came around and played. If you drafted Dameon Pearce and then dropped him after 1 week, that's a rough play.
Yeah, you can't do that. Especially if you're drafting Dameon Pearce so high, right? Like towards the end of the season, he was going in like the 6th or 7th round. It felt like.
Yeah, I'm dropping Kenneth Walker for Dameon Pearce if I need to make that move. I'm totally cool with that. Fantasy Dog also asking, got Schultz And then listed some tight ends on the waiver wire. I see Everett in that list. There's Jonnu Smith, Logan Thomas, Tyler Higbee. Coop, if Everett's out there, is he your preferred guy to plug in for Dalton Schultz?
What were the rest of the names? That one.
Logan Thomas, Jonnu Smith, and Tyler Higbee.
Yeah, I would go Logan Thomas and just go with the highest upside. Though, like JL said, Higbee's very safe. You know, it's like he's going to get a number of low A-dot targets, and he either scores or doesn't. That's his style. But Logan Thomas, you know, they really like him over there, and he's capable of making like bigger downfield plays. You know, like we saw with the touchdown this week. Like he can get in there and really mix it up. Whereas Higbee's more like a safety valve guy. So I'd go Logan Thomas.
Logan Thomas. Jail, what about you?
I agree with Coop.
Yeah, Everett's a short-term. He's such a short-term answer because when Allen comes back, he goes back to being the problem there is Austin Eckler, right? Like if it was just the two wide receivers and then Everett, it wouldn't be so bad. But with Austin Eckler, you know, getting 10 targets last week, it really his piece of the pie isn't that big when everyone's healthy.
So if you're the Schultz manager, maybe you're thinking this is just a 1 week play though, right? Like you're just picking up someone for this week. Would you prefer Everett for just this week, or would you still prefer Thomas?
Yeah, I think for my weekly rankings, if Keenan Allen is out once again, I will have Everett ranked higher than all those guys.
Absolutely. And Dog saying Schultz is hurt. Yeah, Dalton Schultz is hurt. We'll be unsure about his game time status until closer to the week 3 game is what we were told by their head coach yesterday. But we'll find out about that as the week continues. We had one more question in here from Greg. Greg wanted to know, got offered Mike Evans, Kittle, and Ettienne for Kamara, A-Rob, and Elijah Moore. Don't know what to do. His tight ends currently are Komet and Tunyon. So George Kittle, who's been injured, plus Mike Evans, who is suspended, and Ettienne for Kamara, A-Rob, and Elijah Moore. Coop, are you doing this trade?
Kamara, A-Rob, Elijah Moore for Kittle. I mean,
PPR.
You got to PPR. You got like to take the Kittle and Evans side. Once again, you have to be confident in the rest of your lineup, right? Because you're trading for two guys that might not be playing. I mean, same with Kamara, who you're sending away, but that like a lot of these are lineup dependent. So you have to know what else you got going on. If I have a strong depth, I would take the Evans and Kittle side.
Bill, what about you?
Can you lay out the trade again? Because I can't find it in the comments.
Yeah, it's in our little chat too over there, Jail. Got offered Mike Evans, Kittle, Ettienne for Kamara, A-Rob, and Elijah Moore. PPR.
Okay. Got offered Mike Evans, Kittle, Ettienne for Mike Kamara, A-Rob, Elijah Moore. I'm gonna take the Mike Evans, Kittle, Ettienne side. I think Kittle will likely be healthier a little later on in the season. Ettienne, I think, is going to find his stride. He's gonna be much more performant than what we've seen so far. And Mike Evans is that guy in that offense. So I'm really hyped on all three of those guys. Kamara has concerns. I think this is a pretty fair trade when it comes down to it. But Allen Robinson and Elijah Moore they're not league winners in my opinion.
Yeah. I think I'm with you, JL, but if you're 0-2, that's a tricky trade to make. That's a tricky trade to make if you're sitting there at 0-2, but long-term, I like the Mike Evans, Kittle, and Ettienne side. It's tough trading a running back like Kamara, though. It is really tough giving up a top-tier running back like Kamara if you're not getting a top-tier running back in return. But maybe you got the depth to do it. Maybe you drafted earlier in the offseason and Kamara was going in the 3rd, 4th round and you got 2 other stud running backs.
Yeah, I will say this about that trade, Greg, is that it's a fair trade. So if you look at your lineup and you believe your lineup's better and you look at their lineup and you believe the trade makes their lineup better, then I say go for it because when you look at the pieces, this isn't like an obvious one side is crushing the other side trade. So fair trades that help both teams are the best kind of trades. If that's what you believe this is, then get it done, baby.
They are the best kind of trades. We will continue talking these Monday Night Football games, and we're going to talk about waiver wire ads to help you guys. When we started answering some questions, we're going to run through a little bracket of some of these names that we are talking about. We'll play some poll perception a little bit later today as well. And then Impemba from Fantasy Alarm is joining the show. You're listening to the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Better Sports Network.
It's Corey Nando and Friends, presented by Mayo Media Network. Corey, pull this down. Like, hearing Ravel got me all like, oh man, collectibles. Check this out. Look at that.
That's like what? Pro Stars.
That's Michael Jordan and Wayne Gretzky.
Ooh.
It's an official like a still from the cartoon.
Oh, that's pretty dope. I like that. Where'd you get that from?
Yeah, on eBay. It was like $45. It's authenticated. I got the authentication right here.
Oh, that's cool. I like that.
I thought it was one of I really like. Started going to Comic-Cons and they had all these cartoon animation cells. They're called.
Yeah, I never been to a Comic-Con before. I like to sleep on Saturday mornings. No, I'm not dissing the Comic-Con crew. I'm not dissing them, Nando. I'm just saying, whatever. You know what I mean? I'm just.
I mean, you could go on a Thursday. Like I go on a Thursday because then the animation cell boxes, the boxes aren't picked over. You can get like I don't have that many. I have like 5. But
they have Comic-Cons in like every city. Like they have them. It's not just at the Javits Center, right? They have them like kind of. They're not gonna have one down here where I'm at, but they have them like all over, right?
Yeah, they're everywhere. Yeah, they're awesome. So anyway, that's not from Comic-Con, but like I learned about it in Comic-Con. I'm like Pro Stars. That's kind of
That's cool.
It's Michael Jordan, kind of dressed as Santa Claus.
Yeah, I see that.
For some reason, I never saw that episode. I don't remember that one.
Yeah, I don't remember many Pro Stars episodes. I never was a big cartoon guy. Like even when I was 5-6-year-old fantasy executive, my life was always based in reality.
Really?
Yeah.
So what were you doing on Saturday mornings?
Fishing.
Yeah,
I was fishing. I was fishing in the Hudson River.
Well, I was going to say the Tappan Bridge. That sounds about right.
Off the West Side Highway.
Producers remember Pro Stars. You remember Pro Stars in the chat room? Like it was amazing. It was Bo Jackson, Wayne Gretzky, and Michael Jordan. Which I later found out in life it wasn't their real voices. Which it doesn't take that long to voice a cartoon.
You would think Michael Jordan was when he was on top of the world was going to voice a cartoon.
How long are you? Look, I mean, it takes this long as we're doing the show to step in there in front of a microphone and be like,
Michael Jordan,
Wayne, let's go get
Michael Jordan like to gamble, smoke cigars. You know what I'm saying? I really don't see Michael Jordan pulling up to the animation studio to voice a cartoon.
You assume he would have made a little more money.
He got all the money in the world.
I guess you're right. Yeah.
He's a shoe mogul. Yeah. Michael Jordan don't need no money.
Maybe not at the time. It might be a good story to find out where those voice actors are now. Like, hey, these are Bo Jackson, Wayne Gretzky, and Michael Jordan. What are they doing?
I know that would be cool. That would be.
Let's have them on the show.
No.
Oh, I got it. We'll get those 3 voice actors to come on and do this year's Christmas special.
Oh, that's not a bad idea if we can find them.
Make bets and follow your fantasy team while you buy, sell, and trade collectibles in real time. Only on Better Sports Network.
It is 3rd and 9. Cousins spreads out his wide receivers. 3rd and goal from the 9. Cousins is back. Here comes the rush. He throws it high in the air, and it is intercepted. 3rd interception today. Now Slade drops it, but he's down. Yep. He made the interception.
Welcome back to the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Better Sports Network. And we even have Kirk Cousins slander in the break. A Cousins interception. Merrill Reese on the call for Sports 94.1 WIP. God, and Jail's even muted. It can't celebrate with us.
No, I'm not.
We gotta have
No, I'm not. I was talking to Rosie. I wasn't muted, guys.
Get that clown nose out.
That Cousins.
What I said was actually hashtag promote Keith.
Promote Keith.
That's a weird thing to say to your dog. Is Rosie Keith's boss?
Rosie, promote Keith.
Do it, Rosie. Do it, Rosie.
Do it, Rosie. Oh, she's looking at me now. Whoops.
We are going to get into our waiver wire bracket, and I see some more waiver wire questions and trade questions in the chat. We'll be answering these while we're going through this as well. But I came up with 8 names. We got 4 running backs, 4 wide receivers. We're going to talk about them head to head, which guy you would rather pick up on the waiver wire this week. The 8 players we're going to be talking about: Darrell Williams, Raheem Mostert, Mark Ingram, Tyler Algier. Then on the wide receiver side, we've got Garrett Wilson, Jacoby Myers, Michael Gallup, and Jahan Dotson making his return to the bracket. Maybe another week, another touchdown will change our mind on him. But JL, I'm going to come to you first with this first matchup. We've got Darrell Williams, running back for the Arizona Cardinals, Raheem Mostert, running back for the Miami Dolphins. Both of them had a touchdown this week, I believe. No, Mostert just got all the touches. He didn't have a touchdown. Tua stole all of them. Which of these guys would you prefer to pick up on the waiver wire this week? Raheem Mostert or Darrell Williams?
Darrell Williams or Raheem Mostert. For me, it's going to be Raheem Mostert. The old man, but fast man. I'd rather have him than Darrell Williams. What do you guys think?
One vote for Raheem Mostert. Coop, what about you?
I'm fully on board with Raheem Mostert right now, man. Like, this is a guy you got to remember that just a year ago, he said he had not only the fastest on-field speed, but also the second fastest. And then he got hurt. Like the first 2 games against the Cardinals and Jets, he said the 2 fastest on-field speeds, faster than Tyreek Hill, faster than all these guys. And this offseason, when they were tracking that, he and Tyreek Hill both were in the top 3 for speeds recorded. So this guy can still scream out there. So if he's getting the touches, at any moment, this guy can break off like a 70, 80-yard touchdown. So Raheem Mostert to me is much more exciting than Williams.
2 votes for Raheem Mostert. You know, I think I'm going to go Darrell Williams here. Like, whenever James Conner did leave that game injured, Darrell Williams and Nino Benjamin split stats, but Darrell Williams was getting the red zone snaps. Like, he was getting the goal line carries while James Conner was out as well. And hopefully this Arizona offense is not as bad as it's looked through the first 7 quarters of this season. Picked up a little bit in that 8th quarter, the 4th quarter of their game this week. But, man, I'll take the guy that I think is going to get the goal line work for the Cardinals if James Conner continues to miss time. I'll pick him up. But it doesn't matter what I say because Raheem Mostert got 2 votes, and he's going to move on to the next round.
Can I add one thing, Simon?
Yeah, you can add 2 things if you want.
I'll add 2 things then. Boo and also wrong.
Boo and wrong. Okay, thank you for that. Thank you for that. Let me take
you were going to go with when it was just one thing.
I was going to go with wrong, but since I had to add 2, I'll also say boo.
Boo and wrong.
Boo,
like
and then the second one was wrong. You said, Coop. Sorry, I'm just trying to take notes here.
Right.
You know,
Unless
become a better analyst.
If you had said Raheem Mostert, then I would have said something like right and yay.
Okay, so all I had to do to get that response was say Raheem Mostert. Okay, I'm learning. Thank you, Coop.
Next time,
I need that.
Yeah, next
get
time.
back up on that horse.
Yeah, get back in with the Hogs.
Get back in with the Hogs.
Back in with the Hogs. See Nav in the chat.
Hogs up.
What's up, Nav? Hogs up for Nav. Hit that fun button for
Nav. Hogs up.
Smash it, dude.
Our next matchup, Coop, is going to come to you first. We've got Mark Ingram, who filled in for an injured Alvin Kamara, versus Tyler Algier, who picked up a lot more snaps this week after not playing in week 1 for the Falcons. Which of these running backs are you picking up on the waiver wire this week?
I think if I had to pick one of those 2, I would take Mark Ingram, just because we don't know the situation with Kamara. You know, the injury situation, when he'll be back. Also, technically, he does have a court date at the end of this month. I believe it's still set for September. We believe he's going to be able to play the whole season. But, I mean, you never know with that kind of stuff. Sometimes the league does their own investigations, as we know, and decides that even though the charges were dropped against Zeke Elliott, he gets suspended. Even though, air in footballs didn't end up mattering, Tom Brady gets suspended. So sometimes the league takes things into their own hands.
Going to bring it up.
Yeah.
I knew you were going to say it.
Even
Before
though,
you even went down this path, I was like, Coop's going to bring up Deflategate.
Even
Not a doubt
though,
in my mind.
even
Patriots
though,
fans can't help yourself.
even though they swapped the balls out and Tom Brady played even better after the fact, right? So, ridiculous. So, that's where I'm at with that. Like, Cordell Patterson's the dude. I don't think without an injury, there's going to be Algier is just going to be second fiddle on one of the league's worst teams, right?
Yeah, I'm going Mark Ingram as well. All the reasons Coop stated. Jail, what about you? We've got 2 votes for Mark Ingram. Are you throwing one to Tyler Algier?
What have we seen from Tyler Algier that's really getting people's, jimmies in a bother here? It's nothing. We haven't seen anything. So I'm going Mark Ingram. I'm going to hope to capture some more of this. Was Thunder and Lightning? Was that their old nickname? Loved that.
Triple Mark Ingram. Mark Ingram moving on the wide receiver side over here. We've got Garrett Wilson. Before we get into the wide receivers, honorable mention. It was brought up in the chat that Cole Beasley to the Bucks worth an ad. So before we start talking about the 4 wide receivers we have here, Cole Beasley isn't on this list. JL, your favorite NFL player, maybe besides Kirk Cousins, Cole Beasley has been added to the Buccaneers. Would you add him? Do you think he's worth an ad in fantasy leagues?
Nope.
What if you were to then make your team name the Bucks and the Bees?
The Bucks and the Beasleys. This is a pretty good team name. I might allow it in that case.
In that
that
particular instance.
Or the Birds and the Bees.
Let me tell you about the Bucks.
Wait, that doesn't make sense. That has nothing to do with the Bucks.
Yeah, I'm not picking up.
I mean, yeah, no, unless you just change their entire team to be bird themed.
If you just want a only Cole Beasley related pun name, then that's your name.
Yeah,
the Bucks and the Bees. What about you, Coop? Do you think Cole Beasley's worth an ad?
Nah. Maybe maybe if it's a crazy deep league like the Scott Fish Bowl, you can just gotta start swinging wildly. I will say that a little concerning on the Chris Godwin front. You don't want to see teams adding players, right? It's like at the moment the Saints added Latavius Murray, even to the practice squad, I was like, Alvin Kamara is not playing. Like that's kind of how it goes. So when you see these guys come in and start, when I saw them come in and add Russell Gage and Julio Jones, I was like, okay. And then now Godwin gets hurt again. They add another wide receiver. Yeah, that has to have you concerned for Godwin, does it not?
Yeah, no, 100% it does. If I wasn't concerned for Godwin already, that doesn't inspire any confidence. Better Boston, you're saying Brady and the Bees, and then amending it to Brady and the Sleaze. Some Cole Beasley shade.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah,
Brady and the Sleaze.
That's a fair name for Cole Beasley.
The Beezles Measles.
Oh, I hate that.
The Beezles Measles.
Not say
the Beezles Measles.
The Beasley's Kneesies. That's disgusting. Oh, you're
living Beasley's Kneesies.
You know what I hate? G-Man J coming into the chat saying, "Morning, what's getting people's hogs up?" What's great is that
boy.
If you didn't listen to the show yesterday, that is just a complete nonsense saying. But
yes.
The Hogs took over, dude. Yeah, Hogs up. And if you have a different take on any of these players, if you have a waiver wire guy that you want to add, call in. We'll put you on. We put Dustin on yesterday. Call in, say Hogs up to the boys, and we'll chat it out. So call in any point, we'll toss you on. We can do whatever we want in the show. Even though Simon's back, he runs a little more rigid of a ship than Coop and the Hog, but we can still get you on.
Coop and the Hog is like it's like 15 pieces of disconnected driftwood in the ocean.
Right. Yeah. But Simon,
comparatively.
Simon, if somebody, I know this is a very rigid show with the show sheet and breaks, you know what I mean? And all sorts of fancy stuff.
All these things we got to keep on track. There's a schedule.
Come on. You had that Simon and Keith like doing. We just threw the show sheet out the window yesterday. But Simon, if they come on and say Hogs up, will you let them come on and talk?
Oh yeah, whatever they want to say after they say Hogs up. It's like the secret phrase. Yeah, we'll put everything on break. Sorry, Keith. We're running stuff now over here. We are going to let anyone who says Hogs up come in here and speak
and just talk.
Also, Coop, I loved how you said if you didn't listen to yesterday's show, that was a nonsense statement. If you did listen to yesterday's show, it's still a nonsense statement, just one that you've heard a lot more times. Okay, it's just nonsense that you've heard repeatedly.
You've put together via context clues, repeated context clues from us.
In my mind, it makes sense still. But yeah, I guess you're right. That
I'm right there with you.
Hogs up. All right, Hogs up, gang. Get on.
Hogs up. Let's go.
Hogs up. I got the first vote on this next matchup. And speaking of guys getting our hogs up, Garrett Wilson. What a game did that dude have? Oh my God. He's going up against Jacoby Myers in this first round. And I feel a little bit bad for Jacoby Myers going up against Garrett Wilson because Jacoby Myers is a great ad. He's I do think he should be rostered in most leagues, but Garrett Wilson has a shot to be the one on this team. And we saw his upside this week, 8 receptions, 102 yards, 2 touchdowns. And that was on 14 targets for Garrett Wilson. Looks like Joe Flacco may have found a new best friend. We'll see what happens when Zach Wilson comes back, but I'm buying in. Garrett Wilson looked great. He was drafted to be great. And if he's not rostered, I'm picking him up. 1 vote for Garrett Wilson. JL, what about you?
Oh yeah. This is Garrett Wilson territory right now because I'm with you, Simon. It's Garrett Wilson over Jacoby Myers for me. It feels like we know what Jacoby Myers is. Garrett Wilson, we do not. He's a rook. So sky's the limit for Garrett Wilson. I mean, maybe not sky's the limit.
The Jets are the limit for
the Jets are the limit. The Jets are the limit for Garrett Wilson.
The Jets, they're in the sky technically. The Jet would be. So
hey, after this weekend,
sometimes,
dude, sometimes. So yeah, I'm in, man. Jacoby Myers, like you said, kind of a boring player, dude. And it's a shame because, he's leading the team in targets. He should be consistent, but he's going up against Garrett Wilson, an absolute hog, dude. He let the hogs out this weekend for sure. And I was looking at it for week 1. I'm looking at the snap counts as I tend to do, and I'm like, what are these New York teams doing? Why is Braxton Berrios splitting with Garrett Wilson? Why is Kadarius Toney playing 7 snaps while Richie James plays a zillion? And both teams kind of corrected that a bit this week, right? Last week you had, Garrett Wilson played virtually the same number of snaps as Braxton Berrios. This week, Garrett Wilson was up with Elijah Moore and Corey Davis playing, 36. He ran 36 of 49 routes. I would like that number to be even higher, but he played 43 snaps. Berrios only played 16. So Berrios back to being what he should be, which is a return man and a guy that comes in as the 4th wide receiver, mixes in a little slot, does a little something, but he's just not on the level of Garrett Wilson. So now that Garrett Wilson is working his way up to that full snap share, you got to go out and get him right now if you can.
Yeah, 22% target share, 8 targets in week 1, 14 targets in week 2 for Garrett Wilson. That's hot.
Yeah, boy. Yeah, boy.
That's hot. It's a triple Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson moving on to the next round. JL, you have the first vote here. Michael Gallup, Dallas Cowboys, coming back from injury, potentially playing in week 3. We've seen Noah Brown peppered with targets, and Dalton Schultz may continue to miss time, but Cooper Rush is throwing him the ball. Or Jahan Dotson, who added another touchdown in his first 2 games of his rookie season with the quarterback that we all expected to be near the top of the league in passing yards, Carson Wentz of the Washington Commanders. Which of these guys are you picking up this week? Is it Michael Gallup or is it Jahan Dotson?
Ooh, this one is a little interesting. Jahan Dotson, who I was high on last week, he did it again this week, but his target share isn't super high. 5 targets each of the last 2 weeks, 11.8% target share in this offense. He's still the guy for me, though, over Michael Gallup. I love Michael Gallup when he's healthy, which is not very often. And he's got Cooper Rush throwing the ball when he does come back. For now, I do expect Dak to be back, and I think Michael Gallup will return on the value. But when is that? We don't know. And so Jahan Dotson, he's producing right now, and I think that he can work his way into a higher target share in this offense because I think he's good. He's a rookie, so.
1 vote for Jahan Dotson. And in the last 2 questions, I just wanted to bring this up. Fantasy Dog in the chat saying the top 3 quarterbacks in passing yards. 2 us first. Then Carson Wentz and Joe Flacco are the number 2 and 3 quarterbacks in passing yards. We brought up some of the receiving options here. Coop, are you picking up Michael Gallup or Jahan Dotson like JL?
Yeah, I'm so I was this offseason, I was gonna do it again. The thing I always do where I'm like, injury discount, right? Michael Thomas last year for the win, right? Steal of the century, didn't even play. And Michael Gallup, I was gonna do that until I checked with Edwin Porras. He's a FB injury doc on Twitter. Real good dude. He's in my Pros with Joe's. So whenever we do the shout out Fantasy Nav in the chat, Eric Romoff, he's the guy that puts that together. But we were in the same league together, so we're doing a stream for the entire draft. And I just started this thing where everybody in the chat, I asked Edwin 1 question about an injury, and then everyone in the chat was just peppering him with questions the rest of the draft, which is great because we got a lot of info from a guy who really knows about injuries. Like Edwin works in physical therapy and helping guys return from these injuries. So he was out on Michael Gallup completely. He's like, the fact that he's not going to be ready week 1 tells you that whenever he's back, he's not going to be ready for a full snap share when he's back either. So I'm kind of out on Michael Gallup. And also, if you want to talk about full snap shares, what do you think the snap share was from Jahan Dotson without looking, boys? If you had to take a guess.
99%.
It was 99%. Good job. Dude.
Whoa.
Yeah, 73 of 74 snaps. I believe that rounds up to 99%. He ran 55 of 55 pass plays. Doesn't get much better than that, dude. Jahan Dotson wheels up 2 touchdowns in a row. I'm super in on Dotson. I'm super in.
Let's go.
Got to go with him over Gallup. Lock it in.
Make that 3 of us in on Jahan Dotson, and Jahan Dotson's going to move on to that next round. Tommy in the chat saying Cooper Rush looks like Coop's more athletic younger brother. Are you older than Cooper Rush?
Rude.
I have no idea how old Cooper Rush is. Like literally
37.
No clue.
He's probably. Has anyone seen me and Cooper Rush in the same room? That's the question.
Never.
Yeah. I mean, his beard is a little more red than mine. I got a little bit of
28.
red. I got a little bit of red in there, depending on which angle you look, dude. But yeah,
93, baby.
But for some buddies of mine in a group chat were making. So I sent like a picture of the chat one time accidentally where I was wearing a scarf. So now, like, obviously, they have to torture me about that, like, forever. Yeah, it's like Mike Fiella, those guys. He's a Boston guy too. Like, that's the trick. In Boston, it's like if you want someone to know that they're your good friend, you're super mean to them. So like they were already sending Cooper Rush. Like
Mike loves me.
Yeah,
he
loves you. Yeah, he does. Mike has texted me personally pictures of you being like, use this on the show. And it's just pictures of you with like one eye open. We have our own thread.
He's just sitting there screenshotting the whole time. Like,
right. We're not even, we don't even use them anywhere. We just send them back and forth and say,
That's totally fine. I do the same thing with my friends. I send pictures of myself looking like an idiot.
Exactly, dude. So
I do the same thing with my friends. Send pictures of JL looking like an idiot.
That's what we all been doing. But yeah, that whole group chat is just Photoshop pictures of Cooper Rush with scarves on. Being like, oh, look, it's Coop. You know what I mean? So
am I the only one that's surprised by this? I typed Cooper Rush into Google and there are 45.1 million results for Cooper Rush.
Good God.
How could there be that much Cooper Rush material out there?
I bet because rush is also a verb, like you could rush. I bet there are, and Cooper's a first name and a last name. I'm sure a lot of people with the first name or last name Cooper have had to rush somewhere and noted
big
it on
Rush
the internet.
fans.
Or big Rush fans, big time Rush fans. Maybe we get that younger demographic in there as well. Like there's
Rush live at the Cooper Dome.
Maybe there's a lot of barrel makers. Yeah, barrel makers going
barrel makers.
Watching. Rest in peace, Neil Peart, arguably greatest drummer of all time. In the chat, who do you think the greatest drummer of all time is, dude? I think it's Rush's drummer, Neil Peart. You do is like an octopus, but if you got somebody better, drop in the chat. Love to see it.
I think it's Will Ferrell from Step Brothers, if I'm not mistaken. He's probably the greatest drummer of all time, right?
Don't remember Rush ever smashing at the Catalina wine mixer. That's what I'll
tell you. Never mind. Go on. I was gonna tell a story, and I'm not gonna tell the story.
Ooh, Chad Smith, dude, which is funny. Chad Smith is the Red Hot Chili Peppers drummer, and he looks exactly like Will Ferrell. Brendan Villacampa. If you pull up Chad Smith, they look identical, dude. So funny. I
think Nick's got the right answer. Dave Grohl, just absolutely unreal. If you that first Foo Fighters album, if you listen to it, he re-recorded most of the drums, and then the drummer quit because they listened to the album, and he had gone over and just re-recorded most of his parts. Said, "I'm out of here. I'm not doing this anymore." But Dave couldn't let it sit. We had a question in here while we were talking about Jahan Dotson. I wanted to hit this. Squirrel Bob said, "Question. What do you think of Scary Terry? Time to be worried." So Jahan Dotson got in touchdowns the past 2 weeks. Curtis Samuel heavily involved. Coop, are you worried about Scary Terry McLaurin?
Nope. I think Terry McLaurin's going to be fine. And at the end of the day, teams are going to have to adjust to Jahan Dotson. Like if they're bracketing Terry and basically saying Terry's the only weapon here and taking him away, then Jahan Dotson's going to continue to feast, and teams are going to have to adjust to that. So that's why I think there's a possibility that I just want to take stabs on all these guys. Terry's already rostered. I'm grabbing Jahan Dotson. I'm grabbing Logan Thomas. If I can get both those guys, perfect. Because one of those guys, I think the targets are pretty highly consolidated among those guys. Well, I guess there's also Curtis Samuel. But somebody could emerge as like the clear de facto top 2 target, and then that guy goes in your lineup. So
23.5% target share for Curtis Samuel. He is leading the team. Right. The next step down is Terry McLaurin and Antonio Gibson, who are tied for 14.1% target share.
Kind of makes me interested in Carson Wentz, dude.
Yeah, I think Carson Wentz is a fine Superflex option. Fine.
Which is not even saying that much.
I was gonna say that's almost as hot as your Stephon.
I was gonna say, dude, I actually
think Carson Wentz is a top 24 quarterback.
Dude, but fine Superflex option actually extends to like 28. Because if you're like a fine option, I think he's somewhere in the top 32 quarterbacks.
Just leave me alone.
Jesus, dude. It's like
Mom,
hot take. He's like, I think he'll be able to fend off Taylor Heineke. That was kind of the take you just gave us there, dude.
God, I hate you.
Brendan wanted to know. He said he might have missed the answer. Nope, we didn't answer it. But we can talk about it now. What do you guys think owners should do with Ettienne for now? So, Jail, you mentioned earlier, you said, right now Ettienne is a thorn in James Robinson's side, but hopefully James Robinson can become a thorn in Etienne's side as the season goes
That's
on.
what I said.
That's exactly what you said, word for word.
Hopefully James Robinson can become the thorn that we all thought he would be.
Do you have hope for Ettienne still?
Absolutely, I have hope for Ettienne still. He is a hold right now. Do not sell
Hold.
Travis Ettienne. Do not drop Travis Ettienne. That would be a dumb move. Don't be a dumb boy. Don't be a dumb girl. Be smart. Hold Travis Ettienne.
Yeah, hold on to him. And I want to pivot back real quick to this other conversation, more important conversation. Fantasy Nav says Travis Barker for drummer, and that's actually a solid choice. Yeah, he's nice, and he also he does a lot of beat production for like rappers and stuff too. So like he's got a sound for the rhythm. And then Work and Grind, our boy Work and Grind came on yesterday, dropped a little Hogs Up. He was actually the one that decided whether it was going to be Hogs Up or Hogs Out. And he decided on Hogs Up. Appreciate your contribution, Work and Grind. And he says Kevin Talley, who I didn't know who that is, apparently from band 6 Feet Under. But I got a YouTube video queued up here. I'm going to watch after the show. The unmatched greatness of drummer Kevin Talley. So I'm excited to check that out.
Wow.
I like Kevin from The Office. He's a good drummer.
He's a good drummer. Yeah, just an incredible drummer. Scott Fish is in the chat in here saying Ian Fish is number 54 overall, and Scott Fish 412, 2-0, and top scorer in his division.
My guy, let's go.
I'd be disappointed if you weren't. That's exactly what I expect from you after all the sharp analysis and sharp drafting this offseason.
All that trivia, the nonstop trivia we get from Ian. Or I'm 0-2 in Scott Fish Bowl. You're wrecking me right now, Ian.
I love that he was talking trash about picks at the Vikings at the Minnesota draft, and Kevin Tompkins was like, yeah, Ian crushed my pick, and he's like, it wasn't much I could say. He was actually probably, one time Ian was on Sirius XM with Howard Bender, and I came on right after Ian, and I was like, how am I supposed to follow that up? And Howard's like, you really don't have to, because you're fired. We're giving Ian your job. So I've actually already been fired and replaced by Ian one time. Please.
It's about to happen again.
Ian, let me continue to have this one show.
Just please.
This one time.
Be merciful.
Please be merciful.
Oh, it looks like we actually have I'm just kidding, Coop. We were about to kick you off for Ian.
Just kick me off the show. Right? I would understand. Honestly, he's a hot up and comer in this industry, baby.
Let's wrap out this bracket. Make sure we figure out which player of these that we want added. So Coop, this one's coming to you. Raheem Mostert or Mark Ingram? Which of these guys is your preferred waiver wire ad?
Raheem Mostert for me, man. Like I said, I dropped it all before, but on kind of unrivaled speed. I mean, like if you're setting those on field, because anybody can run a 40 time in shorts with like the perfect track shoes or whatever. Like he set multiple
anybody,
you JL, yeah, of course you could definitely run like a 5.2, I bet. But he set 2 of the fastest on field speeds. He did it again this very off season. So when you're doing it on field, on camera, measured by next gen stats, that speaks to me. So I'm definitely down for Raheem Mostert, just trying to catch lightning in a bottle with some big home runs. He could get hurt, but it's a waiver ad running back. That's the world you got to live in.
JL, what about you? We've got Raheem Mostert, Mark Ingram. Which of these guys are you taking?
I'm gonna go with Raheem Mostert. I'm going to go with the guy whose offense looked fantastic and scored, 40 points this week?
A bajillion. Roughly.
Yeah. Give me Raheem Mostert. The
fast man. Raheem Mostert. It's going to be Raheem Mostert for me as well. Outsnap Chase Edmonds. I don't expect, or outtouch Chase Edmonds. I don't expect that every single week, but if they're going to ride the hot hand, there's going to be Raheem Mostert weeks where he does outtouch Chase Edmonds, and I think you can probably plug him into your lineups. Mark Ingram is only if there's an injury plug and play, but I get it. I understand the value of adding him there. I got the first vote on this one, Garrett Wilson versus Jahan Dotson, and I'm sorry, Jahan Dotson, but you're not going to get past Garrett Wilson for me. This dude has a shot to truly be the one on this offense, and I'm believing what I saw. I'm voting Garrett Wilson here. JL, where's your vote going, Garrett Wilson or Jahan Dotson?
Oh, this one sucks. Both rookies, both hyped upside. I'm going to go with Garrett Wilson. And hope that he continues to command the target share that he has been in this offense. Jahan Dotson, we already talked about how excited we are for him. I'm with Coop 100% on the hype for Jahan Dotson. But I'm just gonna give the edge to Garrett Wilson. I think these guys are very close to my rest of season rankings.
I wish you added Jahan Dotson last week so you could add Garrett Wilson this week. Then you would have everybody cool and nobody not cool.
And your team would win. Yeah.
And we got a question here. What about Sterling Shepard? Sterling Shepard, I do like in full PPR formats, but just not ahead of these guys. These guys have, the Odell Beckham Jr.-esque upside of being a rookie that just comes out and smashes. I mean, talk about guys that come out and score right away. But, look, Jahan Dotson, you scored 2 touchdowns week 1, but Garrett Wilson scored 2 this week. What have you done for me lately, Jahan? This is a no, but in all seriousness, I think, Terry McLaurin is the top dog there. There's a little more target competition, whereas, Corey Davis doesn't scare me as much. And Elijah Moore, it could be an even battle between those two guys. So like you said, he could be the top dog there, whereas I think surpassing Terry McLaurin by your 3rd game as a rookie is a little more taller of an order. So give me Garrett Wilson.
Garrett Wilson, double Garrett Wilson. Our final matchup, JL. This is for all the marbles. Is it going to be Raheem Mostert or Garrett Wilson? Running back versus wide receiver. Who's your preferred pickup? Mr. Mostert, the fastest man in the NFL, or Garrett Wilson? on those big balls, Jets.
I don't know why the car got me. It wasn't that different than the other two, but for some reason, that was the one that got me.
The NASCAR sounds.
I'm going to go with Garrett MFN Wilson.
I'm going to go.
If you look at my notes from that Jets game, I have in parentheses MFN for Garrett Wilson right there in the middle. That is exactly how I typed it. So whenever you said that, I was like, is JL peeking at my notes over there? Because I wrote, and I only wrote it for 2 players this week. Garrett Wilson got it, though.
He's Coop, so good.
Are you voting for Garrett Wilson or for Raheem Mostert?
So now that I know you have that MF in there and you're probably going to vote for Garrett Wilson, I'm going to go Raheem Mostert here. And for one simple reason, that running back, no, not Dolphins. Although the Dolphins being so good this week, and the Patriots winning, even though the Patriots are not good, in the back of my mind always says like, wait a second, maybe the Dolphins are just a wagon, which means the Patriots might be maybe the Patriots are okay. You know what I mean? They just lost to a really good team. That's what my brain says. Right? And then I snap out of it and I'm like, dude, we just barely beat Mitch Trubisky. The Patriots are not good, right? So, but anyway, I would take Raheem Mostert just because running backs are the currency of fantasy football. Like when you have he who controls the running backs controls the power in this game. They are just the fact that we have this debate of Jahan Dotson or Sterling Shepard or Chris Olave or Garrett Wilson. Like at running back, those guys don't come out of the woodwork. Like there's no Raheem Mostert's coming out that often and all of a sudden getting, most of the carries and starting for a team. So a good team. So give me Raheem Mostert just because simply running backs are hard to find.
Yeah, Goop, I don't hate that. And it wasn't a predetermined conclusion that I'm going Garrett Wilson here, but Garrett Wilson does have something that I think overcomes that positional scarcity for me. And it's that just unreal upside, right? Like if this is going to be his target share in this offense, if we're going to see it like this all season, he could be a weekly starter, week in, week out for you without any injuries happening on that lineup. I am going to vote Garrett Wilson. I'm putting my faith in the rookie. And Garrett Wilson's going to be the winner of our bracket. Suck it, Coop, and your Raheem Mostert love.
Yeah.
I was seeing how long you let it go for.
That'll just be the show. Me just crying over. Yeah, that's fine. All right. So, but Garrett Wilson, he's a great pick. He's a great pick too. It just, I guess, depending what you need. If you need a wide receiver, get Garrett Wilson. If you're desperate for a running back, get Raheem Mostert.
Get Raheem Mostert. We're going to be talking some more waiver wire in a moment and playing poll perception. And then Impemba from Fantasy Alarm is joining the show as well. You're listening to the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Better Sports Network.
Better Sports Network is betting, fantasy, collectibles. It's sports talk done better.
First rule of negotiating, you got to have something to bargain with.
I feel like when it comes to trading in fantasy sports, there's too much emphasis and focus on getting the best player in the deal. It does not work like that. If you could get a player that secures you some depth, fills a hole, then you win. More than one person in a trade can win. But people just obsess, and then bad offers come where it's totally stacked. Like those crappy offers, Ron, where, yeah, you're getting the best player in the deal, but you're offering 5 other fringe players thinking that combined they make up for that. Who deals with that crap? I see those trades, Ron, and when I'm seeing a 3-for-1, 4-for-1, 4-for-2, you know that you're getting someone's leftovers at this point for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, usually they're trying to give you a bunch of players to make it seem like they're giving you surplus and quantity instead of quality. So got to be careful with that. You could technically lose a deal on paper, but it helps your team improve. And that's always what you're trying to do. Everyone's looking to tell everyone, oh, look what I did. I ripped this guy off. It's about improving your team. If you have two really good quarterbacks, it's hard to trade a quarterback. Now, what I would do is if I somehow made a foolish mistake of drafting 2 quarterbacks in the first 10 rounds, or even the first 7 rounds, what I've seen many people do, and they're 2 good ones, is I look and be like, okay, does the Dak Prescott manager have a backup? Maybe he doesn't. Then I do all I can to trade. Now, you're probably not going to get proper return, because if that guy with Prescott is smart, he'd be like, well, why am I going to trade a receiver or running back? can just go to the waiver wire, pick up Carson Wentz, Matt Ryan, Marcus Mariota, whoever it is. So that's the reason why that's a situation where you might lose the deal, but you're holding on to a guy that you can't really start most weeks. So you might as well make the deal. So you technically might be losing, thinking like, wow, I'm trading a QB1, but it's not doing much good for you on the bench. And if you're like, well, I'm just keeping this guy in case Josh Allen gets hurt, well, you're playing scared, and that's not a way to win.
The Playbook with Fensty and Ronis, presented by FantasyAlarm.com.
Second and 10 Bills at the Tennessee 46-yard line. Josh will take another shotgun snap. Takes a handoff, going to throw it. Looks downfield, fires downfield, looking for Diggs inside the 5. Dives for it, makes the catch, and it is caught. Touchdown Buffalo. Josh Allen to Stephon Diggs. Touchdown Bills. A 46-yard completion.
Welcome back into the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Better Sports Network. And man, that got me hyped again. Diggs and Allen last night, just unreal to watch. That third touchdown, I was just like, yeah, of course it was Diggs. Of course it was Diggs.
Stud. That's crazy. And, because if Gabe Davis was healthy, Gabe Davis would have obviously scored all 3 of those touchdowns, possibly 4. But with Gabe Davis out, that really freed up a lot of touchdowns for a guy like, second fiddle type guy like Stephon Diggs. So really good game for him, but we'll have to see what happens when super mega star Gabe Davis gets back, right?
Yeah, you really like to see a guy get a shot, when someone steps out of the way. It's unfortunate whenever a superstar has to be injured, but you love seeing a guy get a shot and to step up into it. Kudos to Stephon Diggs. Just really incredible.
Yeah, it was nice. It's just nice the underdogs get to root for him. Like JL's prediction to be the potential wide receiver 1, current wide receiver 1, but also JL thinks it's possible for him to be the wide receiver 1. So really strong takes on the show.
Yeah. Coop, we had some questions come in the chat while we were on break that I wanted to make sure we got to. Albert wanted to know about Olave compared to the wide receivers that we talked about. So Chris Olave, how do you feel about picking him up off waivers? He was the most targeted player on that Saints team this week. And Jameis Winston, it seemed like when he got into I'm just chucking it mode, Olave was the guy he was going for. And if we're going to see more of that Jameis, then it's a valuable role in a Jameis Winston-led offense.
It is. And maybe in standard, which I think is Olave's best format. I think what they're doing there is you have Michael Thomas on the outside playing the flanker, and then you have flanker, sometimes split end, and then you have Olave on the other side, which having a field stretcher like Olave, if he can play split end, which I've seen him done some of, where you put your foot down tethered to the line and you just shoot downfield, that's huge because the other guys can play off the line when you do that, go in motion, do a bunch of creative stuff. So I really like Olave from a real life football standpoint. I just wonder if, Michael Thomas getting targets, Jarvis Landry's always going to get targets. Juwan Johnson kind of getting a sneaky amount of snaps. If Juwan Johnson with his usage was on another team, we'd be all over it. Converted wide receiver that you could start at tight end that's lining up. and running 79% of the routes, like we would love it. So Olave, I just have him a tier below those guys because like Garrett Wilson, we think he can lead the team in targets for the season potentially. Whereas Olave, I don't know. If you had to put a number on the odds of Olave leading that team in targets over guys like Michael Thomas or Jarvis Landry or Alvin Kamara, I don't know if I could even go to as high as 25%.
No, I was flirting with 15, 20, trying to figure out like, yeah, there's a chance. There's a chance. And we saw how that would look this weekend, but I don't think it's going to look that way all season.
Yeah. Right. That's where I'm at. Like you got to go for those other guys first. But if you have Olave, don't drop him because great usage for him as well. A lot of snaps for these rookies. It's looking pretty nice for some of them.
It's fun to see. Jay, speaking of Garrett Wilson, I want to know, would you pick up Garrett Wilson over T. Higgins, Rashod Bateman, Cortland Sutton, or Deontay Johnson?
No.
No.
Well, that team is awesome, by the way, Jay. If I had that team and I was considering dropping one of those players, I would be sending out 3-for-1 trade offers right now. 2-for-1, 3-for-1, like Bateman and Sutton for AJ Brown. Bateman and Sutton for anybody that had a down week that's a megastar, just like which is all of them, right? Like last week, all the stars went off. Devontae Adams, Diggs, Jefferson, Cup. This week, some down weeks in there, right? Devontae Adams had 12 yards. AJ Brown had fewer yards than Devonta Smith. Jefferson had fewer yards than Adam Thielen. So I would be taking.
We saw your typical suspects up there in the top 10 this week. We saw Drake London, Amari Cooper, Christian Kirk, Garrett Wilson, Amon-Ra St. Brown, all the names that you drafted to be a top 10 guy, right?
Just
showing up
how
there
he
in the
drew
top
it up.
10.
Yeah,
just how he drew it up.
You and me, Simon, like you and me from 2 or 3 years ago would be dominating leagues because when we were drafting Cooper Kupp and I was trading Aaron Jones away for Christian Kirk. Like me from 3 years ago would be crushing leagues right now. Me right now, not really crushing a whole lot of leagues. Doing well in a couple.
Not so much. Yeah, 3 years ago was I traded what was it? I traded Amari Cooper for Tyreek Hill in a second whenever he was dealing with the legal issues. And that would have worked out pretty well for me this week as well. We would have been killing it right now, but Tyreek Hill is no longer on that dynasty team. Instead, we're just sad. I believe he turned into some rookie picks that turned into like a Royce Freeman or something, which is not great. We have another question in here. Jay wants to know, has Pearce moved past Breece Hall with new usage? So, Coop, if you had to have one of those guys on your team rest of season, Dameon Pearce or Breece Hall, which one are you picking?
So the scary thing about the Jets, and I think I just tweeted it out, is that the Jets over 2 games now are averaging 77 snaps a game. The league leader last year averaged 69. So these game scripts, like the first week they played like 84 snaps. This week it's like a crazy back and forth game where they probably shouldn't. The game should have been over because they shouldn't have recovered the onside kick, but they did, right? So it's just like additional snaps for. It's just not a sustainable pace. Like they would lead the league by far in snaps. So the Jets probably going to come back to earth a little bit.
But it's back to earth. It's the Texans. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like you're comparing them to hyper competent offense. You're comparing them to the Houston Texans with Dameon Pearce, another rookie over there.
But the thing, it's just crazy because it's like Breece Hall, like he looked good. He caught the touchdown pass, but he played 19 of 70 snaps. 19 of 70. Ugh, I don't know, man. I love the idea of Breece Hall. I just want him to play more, So if you got to start somebody this week, I would start Dameon Pearce. But if you're stashing on the bench for highest possible upside, stash Breece Hall.
I'm with you. That's exactly what I was going to say, Coop. Breece Hall is who I want on my team. If I don't have to start someone this week, just see what you got. But if you got to plug someone in, Dameon Pearce seems a little bit safer. I'm buying into what we saw in week 2 more than what we saw in week 1 from the Houston Texans offense. Nick had a question for us. Said, is this a good trade? I give up Devontae Adams. I receive Debo and David Montgomery. So give up Adams, receive Debo and Montgomery. Coop, what do you think about that move?
Yeah, so with the 2-for-1 trades, you have to be very careful that you're not creating a monster, right? Like you have to look at the team you're trading with. If this is a 2 wide receiver league and you're trading Devontae Adams to the guy that already has Justin Jefferson, you might be creating a beast that you're going to have to reckon with later in the year. So be very careful with that. That said, I always look at it and say, if the 2 guys I'm getting go directly into my lineup and nobody else is even close, then I do the trade. So like if David Montgomery is far better than any other running back I have, and he goes right into my lineup and he'll be in my lineup all year, then I do it. But for the most part, I try to be on the receiving end of those 2-for-1s because, I've seen it too many times where you look back at it and you wonder how a team got all these star players, and it's because of 2-for-1s and things like that.
Yeah. No, and that doesn't mean it can't make your team better and create a problem. Know what I mean? It can make your team 5% better and their team just through the roof, depending on where those players are coming from for them.
Yeah.
So
one
just
way
because you're winning.
Bullet train to second place, right? When you do a trade like that, like you got to just be careful you're not creating something that down the road is gonna sneak back up on you, a little Dungeons and Dragons style,
I see Working Grind in here saying Branden Bolden worth a look this week. Coop, you adding Branden Bolden?
Man, talk about
Branden Bolden.
Branden Bolden, the Meat Mansion would be proud that Branden Bolden's getting the shout out here. He's a Patriots fan as well. He was shouting him out yesterday. Branden Bolden, he is what he is. He knows McDaniel's offense because he came over with McDaniel's. There's value in that. He's a pass catching type back. But if you didn't like Branden Bolden in fantasy football last year, when he was in the James White role for the Patriots that actually used that role heavily, then you're not going to like him this year either. So if you liked Branden Bolden last year, then you should be excited about Branden Bolden this year. And if not, then maybe just leave that alone.
Yeah. Coop, we talked running backs and wide receivers, and we did talk some tight end waiver wire as well a little bit at the beginning, but we haven't talked so much quarterback. If you're struggling at that quarterback position and you're streaming, maybe you're looking for the guy to plug in this week, are there any names that jump out at you? Some names that are around that 50% or lower rostership percentage. Matt Ryan sitting down there. Carson Wentz still pretty readily available. Jared Goff, Jameis Winston, Justin Fields around that number. Ryan Tannehill. Joe Flacco still readily available. Which of these guys are you maybe looking at to add to your team?
Yeah, so the first move I'm making, if he's available, obviously is Tua, right? Like,
yes,
we know that he's looking awesome through 6 touchdown passes. Not going to throw 6 touchdown passes every week, let me tell you, but looked really good. After that, I like Carson Wentz. I mean, Carson Wentz quietly has, in 6-point touchdown leagues, or maybe even 4 as well, quietly has more points than Tua because he put together 2 solid weeks. Tua basically had like 1 okay week and 1 really good week. So Carson Wentz is the guy out of that group that I'm liking best. After that, I can't really get on board with Flacco just because I know he's going back to the shelf. Can't really do it there. Trevor Lawrence looked pretty good too, so I think he's probably the next guy for me. Matt Ryan, I can't. They just got shut out by the Jags. I don't know how you could be excited for Matt Ryan. I don't know, Simon. Off that list, does your list differ from mine? So for me, I'm not sure if I cheated by saying Tua, but Tua, Wentz, and then Trevor Lawrence is probably how I'm looking at those low-owned guys.
It's Tua and Wentz as the first 2 for sure. And then and it gets a little bit tricky for me, I feel like. I feel like Trevor Lawrence, I'm putting in a similar tier. This Detroit Lions offense is better than I thought it was going to be. It looks a little bit better. And if Amon-Ra St. Brown's going to continue to produce like that, if they're going to get DeAndre Swift heavily involved in that receiving game, Jared Goff's the one who's going to be getting them the ball. And this might just be a competent Lions offense. Competent may even be underselling them. This might be a good Lions offense. Like this actually might be a good offense. And so Jared Goff, I think, has to be on that list of guys you consider.
There you have it, folks. Simon said it himself. Jared Goff better than Trevor Lawrence. Clemson, maybe not.
I did not say that.
Maybe not that good of school. I mean, drop Travis Etienne, Clemson, fade him. Not that cool. All right, on to
exactly what I said. Word for word. And then Mike Williams, cut him. That's exactly what you got to do right there.
Sammy Watkins was never that good. Have a beer with Sammy Watkins Day. DeAndre Hopkins, cheater, right? Am I stepping on too many toes right now? Did I go too far?
Be careful. You're getting close to Hunter Renfrow territory, and then that's one player too far.
I didn't.
And then don't even bring up Martavis Bryant. That's where I draw the line.
Yeah, he got a bad rap, dude. He got a bad rap. I mean,
dude was so good when he played.
Such a good attitude, and they just didn't give him. I can't even continue with that fake take, dude. That guy had the worst attitude.
He was fun to watch though when he was out there on the field. He was fun to watch. Do you have any interest in Jameis Winston?
I do, but we talked about this right before week 1. I was like, be careful that it could be real annoying when they put in Taysom Hill to score some random rushing touchdown, which, just is a leech on that offense. Didn't work out so well this week, but like that's the annoying thing for Winston. Every time it's like just you look at every team and you project how many times they're going to score and what the thing's going to be like, and then you have to just like take a big glob of that and say, oh, that's Taysom Hill stealing that. So that's the annoying thing for Winston for me. Drives me nuts, bro.
Yeah, there's better options. There's better options. Now, not just talking the guys that we've talked about, players that we would like to add, but I want to talk a little bit about players they might be replacing. So one quarterback that I know I drafted in quite a few places, and a lot of people drafted that hasn't had the volume or the rushing that we hoped for from a quarterback. Justin Fields has been really disappointing so far, and this Bears offense has hardly given him enough work to be fantasy relevant. If Justin Fields is your starting quarterback in a 1 QB league, Coop, are you trying to replace him? Are you going to the waiver wire for a Wentz or for a Goff or for a Lawrence this week?
Yeah, I think it's time to panic. I think it's time to freak out. And I think this team is built it's built to lose. Sometimes teams do that. Last year the Lions did that, right? They let Kenny Golladay, Marvin Jones, Akers, Jamal Agnew, like they let exactly the number of guys leave for them to get the maximum 4 comp picks back. Like they weren't bad by accident. They were bad by design, right? To get that top pick. And it worked because they won the fewest games in the league. And I think the Bears trying to do something similar, though this would be scary if you're a Bears fan, because I looked at some of the people that try and calculate the comp pick formulas, and they were suggesting that Byron Pringle might have canceled out the compensatory pick they should get back for Allen Robinson, which that would be a nightmare. You build this like terrible team and you don't get a 3rd round pick back for Allen Robinson like you should. I'm praying that they do, and the formulas are not, quite right on that, because we don't really technically know exactly what the formula is, but that would be scary. But the Bears look like the team that's going to come in last place. So I would go ahead and get a different quarterback. They threw 11 times, right?
That's what I'm not ready to say Justin Fields isn't good or Justin Fields can't be good in the NFL. But what I am ready to say is you can't have a quarterback that's going to complete less than 10 passes week in, week out as your starting quarterback in fantasy, unless they're rushing for something ridiculous a game. But he's not. He's got 20 rushing yards and 28 rushing yards in week 1 and week 2. You just can't start him. I'm sad about it, but you can't start him. And man, Coop, can you start? You said you can drop Cole Kmet, and we've talked about moving Darnell Mooney to the bench. Can you start Darnell Mooney?
Nah, I mean, unless you have a nightmare situation going on, you got to keep him on the bench, dude. It's just like Cole Kmet, the underlying stats are good. He's playing 85% of the snaps. He ran 88% of the routes this week, which is like elite tier. But, they only dropped back 17 times. And then he scrambled around for a bunch, so they only threw it 11 times. If you're, he ran 15 of 17 routes, but, they didn't even throw it 15 times. It's crazy. So, I said it on Twitter. If the percentages are high, great, but 0 multiplied by 0 is still 0. So I'm giving up on Cole Kmet. We'd have to see something drastically change this week for me to even consider something like that. So give up on the Bears, man. They're David Montgomery still look good, but for the most part, brutal situation.
I'm starting to give up. I'm starting to lose hope. We're going to be playing some poll perception shortly. And then Jon Impemba from Fantasy Alarm is joining the show. You're listening to the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on the Better Sports Network.
Collectible moments.
Everybody up here at U.S. Cellular. Sox 5 runs, 6 hits. The 2-1 to Bartlett. Swing shot to short. Ramirez has it, throws. Burley picks a perfect game. His second no-hitter. People going crazy here at U.S. Cellular. He's mobbed by his teammates. A perfecto.
Now there's a steal by Pearce. Underneath the DJ, lays it in. Right out, 1 second left. What a play by Pearce. Pearce stole the impounding pass. Laid it up to DJ. DJ laid it up at him. And Boston has a 1-point lead with 1 second left.
Out of the I formation on first down. Peterson the carry, looking for running room on the right side, has it to the 25, across the 30, across the 35, and out of bounds at the 40-yard line. Adrian Peterson has just gone over 2,000 yards for the season, the 7th man in NFL history to cross the 2,000-yard mark.
Well, a thundering ovation for number 66, Mario Lemieux.
Just the emotion I'm sure Mario is feeling in this place. You don't appreciate something until it's gone, and it's so great to have Mario back.
Yager turns around. Over to Lemieux. Mario Lemieux, his first goal in his comeback here tonight at the Mellon Arena. And the Penguins lead 3-0, and he is smiling like a butcher's dog. Mario Lemieux.
Oh, the band is out on the field. He's going to go into the end zone. The Bears have scored, but the Bands are out on the field.
Pearson moves in front of the STP dive. Petty comes back to the inside. They almost touch as they move down low in the banking. They're going to be side by side as they exit the bank and head for the finish line.
Richard Petty goes back in front. They both spin. They're in the wall. Petty is sliding, slamming into the wall. He's coming down toward the finish line. Will he make it? Pearson is still running. The winner is car number 21. An amazing finish. Richard Petty's car demolished in the front end, as well as car number 21. An unbelievable finish, a terrible crash. David Pearson has won the Daytona 500. Leitner catches, comes down, dribbles, shoots, scores! Christian Leitner has hit the bucket at the buzzer! Pitched by Downing, swinging, there's a drive into left center field. That ball is going to be out of here. It's gone. It's 7-15. There's a new home run champion of all time, and it's Henry Aaron.
The most valuable player is Magic Johnson. 42 points, 15 rebounds, and 7 assists. He starts at center, plays forward and guard, and leads the Los Angeles Lakers to a world championship 123-107 over Philadelphia.
Whether you collect sports memorabilia, fantasy championships, or winning bet slips, talk about it on Better Sports Network.
And the gun is Hurts. Sanders behind him. This time, Hurts gives it off, and he runs with the football and keeps it and takes it across the 5 and blows down to the 2. And is he in? Yes! Touchdown, Jalen Hurts. That's magic. A great fake to Sanders, and then he kept it and ran around the right end and took it 26 yards for a touchdown.
Welcome back in, everybody, to the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Better Sports Network. We're about to get into a game of poll perception, but there were a couple really good questions down here that I wanted to make sure we hit before we got into that. Work and Grind asked, we were just talking about Justin Fields and how in one quarterback leagues, you're probably not starting him. Is he a trade 4 in 14-team Superflex? JL, if it's a 14-team Superflex league, are you maybe sending out some low offers for Justin Fields?
I mean, maybe. It just depends on what you're going to be able to get him for. I'm not out here saying Justin Fields is a must buy because, frankly, I don't know how that offense is going to be long term. The first 2 matchups for this Chicago team were tough. They have Houston this week, so I do want to see what they do with Houston this week. But maybe now is the time to trade for Fields. I'm just not giving up a ton. So I would maybe put out a few feelers, see how your league mates are feeling. Whoever is the manager for Justin Fields in your league. It's funny. I just pulled up Sleeper to look at his box score, and I see Daddy's Home is the one who is the manager of Justin Fields in this league. So I'm gonna have to send Mike a trade offer maybe.
Coop, what do you think here?
I mean, yeah, if you think they can turn it around, he's got that kind of upside, then go for it. You know, especially as your second QB. I don't know. Also, I don't like dealing with Mike Viola because he's super mean. So
yeah, he's super mean.
He's Mike's awesome, dude. He's my least favorite good friend.
Least favorite good friend. I like that. Love that.
No, I love Mike, man. The thing is,
Mike is the man.
He's like that.
Super mean, but super nice guy.
But that's the thing is, he's like so good at it, right? He's so good at it.
Yeah,
like, good at pushing your buttons and joking around that he's a great guy, man. And he has no hate in his heart, man. And you know, he's such a tough guy that he would probably hate me saying this, but like when Meat Mansion was having the surgery, dude, and he was sick, needed help, dude. Mike sent me $200, said give it to him. Just give it to him. Don't even put it in the GoFundMe. Just give it to him cash. He's like, that's where Meat Mansion, dude.
What a flex.
So yeah, he's a good dude, man. He's like that. He puts on this tough exterior, but we see through it, Mike.
He's a big old teddy bear.
We see you.
Big old teddy bear. We had a question in here from Esoteric Dragon. Said, I picked up Bateman and Curtis Samuel last week on waiver, did not start them. Do you guys have the confidence to plug Bateman and Curtis Samuel into your lineups going forward, Coop?
Yeah, I mean, I've had Bateman in my lineup the whole time, and I'm not taking him out. Like we knew the target share would be there. And we talked about the Jets running all these extra plays because the game script week 1 that the Jets ran 84 snaps. The Ravens only ran like 56. They just were scoring too easily. Same thing happened this weekend, right? You got to look at the things that cause these snap shares to be low. When the Ravens go out and they run the opening kickoff back, that's an entire drive that didn't happen, right? Same thing with pick sixes and stuff. Like a pick six gives the ball right back to the other team. You're skipping the drive. So once again, the Ravens only ran 58 snaps this week. And when I talk about the team that led the league in snaps last year had 69, you know what team that was?
The Eagles.
It was the Ravens. So the Ravens are not going to run. God damn it, JL. Are you kidding me? Like, so they come out, they run 56.
I made myself laugh with that one.
They run 56 snaps week 1, 58 week 2. Last year they averaged almost 70. So even better game scripts are coming for these guys. I'm excited about Rashod Bateman.
Yeah, me too. I'm with you.
The other player you mentioned, also good, I bet. I forget who it was.
Curtis Samuel. The other player you mentioned, also good, I bet.
Curtis Samuel. Yeah, I mean, the thing is with Curtis Samuel is that here's where the point I'm getting to is that when I look at a team that has 3 to 4 guys that are all getting kind of equal targets, or it could be equal, I want the guys running the higher A-dot routes because those are more valuable targets. Curtis Samuel is running the lowest of anyone on the team by far. So he, to me, full PPR maybe, but half PPR and standard, not really.
Hey,
upside
Coop,
limited, but a decent floor.
What's up?
What's the snap percentages look like for Curtis Samuel?
I got it right here. Funny that you would ask. John Dotson played them all. Terry McLaurin and Curtis Samuel played less. I think, sometimes you have situations where like a guy will have a big play and he'll come out. He'll just take himself out. So it's hard to judge those like that, but they were playing less. They both played 66% of 66 snaps out of 74, 49 out of 55 pass plays though. So you're splitting hairs. Basically, all 3 of those guys are playing every snap. So is Logan Thomas. It's a highly consolidated snap situation. Like Cam Sims is the next highest wide receiver. He played 8 snaps out of 74. So they're just using the 3 dudes. That's what we want to see.
That is what we want to see. We are going to get into a game of poll perception, guys. We'll answer some more of these questions, but JL, I'm going to let you decide if you want to go first or second in today's game.
I went first last time, so let's go second today.
JL going second in today's game. For those of you who have never played poll perception with us, this is the game that tests our contestants' knowledge of the public perception of fantasy football players. I will propose a poll that we found online to one of them, and I'll give you all the options, what they were. But your job is going to be to tell me what percentage of people chose the first option in that poll, side A. The closer you are to the actual number, the more points you're going to get, up to a max of 10 if you're exactly right, a min of 0 if you are more than 15 percentage points away. After you set the line, the other contestant is going to have an opportunity to score points as well by guessing whether the actual percentage is over or under the number that you set. Get that right, you're going to add 2 points to your score. We'll do a couple polls like this until our final poll where you're both guessing a number, at which point whoever's closest will get 5 points and will be our poll perception champion for today.
Ooh. It's me.
Coop,
it's gonna be
you
me
ready?
today, Coop.
You ready for your first poll, Coop?
I love how you guys always make me play this on the 3 o'clock show, and then now on this show, like I never get to host. I always have to play. So I love it. Let's see what Twitter thinks about things, which is always a smart way to approach everything. Let's see what the greatest place on earth thinks.
Here is your first poll coming to us from Fantasy Queen B. Bonnie herself. Should players designated as out be allowed on IR in fantasy leagues? Side A, yes. Side B, no. What percentage of people said yes, players designated as out should be allowed on IR in fantasy leagues?
I think that this is rules like this about like IR spots and bench spots, like those favor the sharp players. The more players you can stash favors the sharp gamers, and folks that follow Bonnie are probably pretty sharp folks. So I think that it's going to be over 50% in favor of you should be allowed to stash them there. I would say as high as maybe 71% of people believe that you should be able to stash guys who are out in an IR spot.
71% from Coop. Guys, if you're watching and you want to play along, throw your guesses in the chat. We'll shout you out if you are correct. JL, where are you going? Are you going over or under Coop's guess of 71%?
This is tough because originally I thought the question was about whether you should put suspended players in your IR, and I thought that would be a different
that would
result.
be a no for me.
I knew that would be. That's why I was surprised why you went so high, which made me realize that I was completely misunderstanding the question.
Oh, it was well for me.
Yes.
All right. Well, answer right now then before you get the chance to think about that. What the actual
let
question
me recalibrate here. Let me rethink about this. So you said 71% said yes, you should be able to put out in your IR spot. I'm gonna go with higher.
Higher.
JL taking the over.
Or, I'm sorry, the over, not higher. The over.
The over from JL. We had one guess in the chat, 83% from Fantasy Dog. If you guys want to play along, you can either call in and play with us on air or just play along in the chat. Throw your guesses in there. But guys, the actual percentage of people that said yes, they should be allowed in the IR and fantasy leagues was 70%. Coop, just about perfect. Yeah. 1 percentage point away, and you boxed the JL out. That's going to give you 5 points and nothing for JL on that one. Giving you a 5-0 lead. Working grind with the late 45 guess, and then say nice, Coop. Giving you a little shout out for getting so close on that one.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people share my sentiment that if that spot is for people who are hurt, right? If somebody's hurt and they're out, you should be able to put them in there.
Absolutely. JL, you dug yourself a little bit of a hole.
I like digging.
Are you ready for your first poll?
Jay said in the chat, IR is IR. It's not an out list. I will die on this hill. It's a dumb hill to die on, man.
Okay, and there's no flex position in the NFL either, Jay. But we put that in the fantasy football.
You should only be able to start Taysom Hill and like Demarcus Robinson in your flex. They have to be like Tavon Austin. They have to be like an actual gadget player.
Jay, I just want you to take this thought process and take it a step further. This is an anti-fun take. This is being a purist at the sake of something that could make your league more fun just because you want it to be pure. IR is IR. It can't be anything else because that's the way it is. No, that's an anti-fun take. That's like the people who are like, well, PPR isn't accurate because it's not like, no, PPR is more fun. We get more points. Everything's more fun. Have a little fun, Jay. Live a little.
I'm sure your point got through to him. It's always good impersonating somebody in the argument against
producer Keith says, way to upset the audience, trying to tell us not to upset the like.
It's dude, Jay. He doesn't count.
Right. Yesterday we were calling them hoglets, dude. I feel like today a step
up. What they're here for. They're here for the abuse.
That was the thing is we were saying they were hoglets, dude. If we're the hogs,
it was a great thing.
Then there are
hoglets are.
Yeah, so
it's not an insult.
Somebody should call in and you can take my spot. You're up 5 points against JL. Call in, say hogs up, and you can play along with us. You can have
hit that fun button. Hit that fun button for the hogs.
Get up in here. I want to see Tommy get up in here, dude. Get on here.
And we got Impemba in here saying Travis Ettienne, the true flex, no position. Yeah, that one hurt. That one hurts a little bit right now, but you're not wrong. JL, are you ready for your first poll?
Yeah.
Here we go. Coming to you from Heath Cummings. You know him, and he asked this poll.
Know him.
Drake London is already a weekly starter in 3 wide receiver leagues. Believe it or not? What percentage of people said believe it?
Say it one more time.
Drake London is already a weekly starter in 3 wide receiver leagues. Believe it or not? What percentage of people said believe it?
Let's go with 60. No.
60 what, Jay?
Let's go with 71%. Let's go.
You are such a poser, bro. Take this seriously, please, JL.
Let's go with 69%.
Will you take this Twitter poll guessing game a little
Jill,
more
take it seriously and guess 69%.
69%.
Thank you.
69% from JL. Coop, do you think the actual answer is over or under? Oh, and I think we got a guest coming on. Working Grind. Are you here with us?
Yeah.
I'm here. Hogs up, boys.
Hogs
up,
bro.
Hogs up. Who's your best hog call? I'm putting you on the spot on air.
there it is.
Oh, there it is.
That's strong. Dude.
Call.
Yeah. All right, working grind. Hey, brother, do you want to want to just call it working grind, or do you want us to call you by your real name? You've been on the show like 3
I'm
times.
Hal, so you can call me Hal, yeah, or working grind.
Hell yeah. All right, Hal, do you want to be my partner, or do you want to play on your own on this game?
I'll be your partner. Let me ease into it. Maybe next time I'll go on my own.
Okay.
Next time, go on your own.
Simon, break us down.
JL, so the question was, Drake London is already a weekly starter in a 3 wide receiver league. JL guessed 69%. Coop and Hal, you guys are trying to guess whether the actual answer is over or under JL's guess of 69%.
I'm feeling the under on this. Not a lot of people are very up on Atlanta, and they don't watch those games.
Very, very true, man. That's very true. That is such a I noticed this in the offseason too, that they don't have the beat writers that a lot of these other places have. And I'm not even just talking about like New York. Like it's a very underserved market, I think. So I think you're right on that. I'm going down on this. I'm going Hogs down with the under.
Hogs
nobody knows about London.
Hogs down.
You sound like you're from London.
And Coop. We had some guesses in the chat. 93% from Fantasy Dog. Working grind. Hal himself in the chat said 42%. So it was really taking the under. Tommy with 35%. The actual percentage of people that chose, believe it, in this poll was 64%. It's a good round for everybody. JL, you're going to have 5 points to your score. Coop and Hal, you guys are adding 2 points, putting you guys at 7, and it's back to you for your next poll.
I felt that was a good guess. for JL. So good job, JL.
Thank you.
You little weasel.
I needed that.
Rosie gave it to you.
It was Rosie 100% sitting right next to me.
Little sweetie.
Hal, you ready for this poll? This one's coming to you. You and Coop.
I'm in.
Let's do it. Here's your poll.
Throw the game, Hal. Throw the game.
Who's the better wide receiver? Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase? What percentage of people? This was from BYY Sports on Twitter. BYY Sports.
Brigham Young University.
What percentage of people? So that's Brian Y. I'm trying to see if there's any team affiliation. No team affiliation besides they graduated from USC, University of Southern California. So I don't know if that biases him
Drake
at all.
London.
But Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase are your two options. The question is, who's the better wide receiver? What percentage of people chose Justin Jefferson?
I mean, people are always recently biased. So Jefferson's the one who performed this year. A lot of people saw Chase, though, in the last year in the Super Bowl. I got to feel like they're going to go with what they saw recently, Jefferson. Yeah. But it's not going to be real high. 59?
Yeah, I like it. I love it, in fact. 59 is like that's where we should live. We should don't let JL get too much wiggle room there. So I think I'm
right. Pigeonhole him.
Yeah, we'll stick him. All right, 59 is what we want.
Get him in that hog shoot.
Get him in the hog shoot. Where are you wiggling? Where are you wiggling, you little hog?
Where am I wiggling, bro? Let me get some wiggles in here. Is it me?
Yeah, it's you, Jay.
Hogs and wiggles. Great.
Hogs and wiggles.
Wiggling hogs.
Wiggling hogs. Keep
please
mute him.
Don't say wiggling hogs.
Wiggling hogs. Let's go, baby. Hogs up.
Let's find where the line's at.
59%, 59. Oh, man. 59 is a good, solid line. Because I feel like this is always...
Queen bee that.
Should I queen bee it?
Never. Has that ever worked? Never worked.
No,
not once.
Not
almost.
Once has it worked.
I
think it was Tim who almost did it. He almost threw out the queen bee, and then he was like, nah. And then it was.
Hey, we did have a poll from the queen bee herself in this game. So maybe it's a sign, JL. Maybe it's a sign.
Let's go, queen bee. Lock it in,
queen bee from JL. JL, what you really have to decide here is I kind of influence that. Do I want you to win or do I want you to lose? We're gonna find out whenever we reveal the answer to this.
I would change your answer, bro.
In the chat, Dustin said 55. Tommy also said 55. Dustin changing his to 69, though. the percentage of people that said Justin Jefferson over Jamar Chase based on 1,669 votes was 90%. 90% on the Justin Jefferson side here. That's going to be no points
So
all
I'm not
around.
going to get points?
You're not going to get points. Coop
all
and
gonna
Hal,
be
you're not
super
going to
low.
get points. But Hal, what do you think of that? Is that surprising to you that we had 90% on the J-Jeff side?
A little bit, but like I said, recency bias, but that's got to be a pull from Minnesota. Where's that dude live?
Right.
I just looked it up. He lives in LA. I was just, we're going to dox this poor Brian guy.
Yeah, there's 100% looking into his background.
It's
weird.
dude,
He were.
He attended elementary school in Los Gatos, so I don't know where this bias could be. I'm just kidding.
I just pulled a move on you that's been pulled on me like 10 times in the over on the other show when I do play Pole Perception. Is that like I'm so susceptible to peer pressure. The moment someone mentions Queen Bee, I have to do it at some point. Like that, I just incepted the Queen Bee on you there because you wouldn't.
Yeah, you did.
You wouldn't have thought it.
I wanted the glory, and honestly, it's been a tough week for Tim and I. You know, Dolphins Ravens game, so I'm just hoping to get back into his good graces. That's really what I'm doing here.
Fair.
Coop and Hal, you guys still have the lead, 7-5 after that. But Jail, we're on to your next poll. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
You
don't even listen,
ready.
just guess.
Don't call it a comeback.
Suck it. Send it.
Actually, send it.
Jail, here is your poll. This is the last poll of the game. You're down by 2 points. This is to determine if you win. Here's your question. What is the best flavor of pie? This come from Lucky Shots Mix. Side A is key lime. Side B is apple. Side C is cherry. And side D is Hershey chocolate. What percentage of people said key lime?
Hershey chocolate pie?
Sounds kind of dope.
Yeah, like a
block
pudding
of chocolate
it's
inside
like a pudding
the
pie. You ever had a pudding pie where it's like chocolate pudding and a pie crust? They make. I'm assuming it's probably like that, but I don't know.
Huh.
I love.
Go to Burger King. They sell it there.
There you go, Jail. Jail loves
I do
Burger
like
King.
I do. They have Impossible Whoppers. They're good.
King, dude.
Where's this poll from? Key lime pie is popular down and like nowhere.
Don't
That's
help.
a good
don't
question.
help
That's
him,
a good question,
Hal.
Hal. I like
You're
that
my
question.
teammate. You're my teammate, Hal.
Simon, where's this poll from?
It is from Lucky Shots Mix, who appears to be a Twitch streamer sponsored by G Fuel Energy. So take with that what you will.
Hershey pie,
getting that advertising money.
Mountain Dew Code Red pie is gonna be all the gamers, bro.
Why does Mountain Dew need so many colors?
Dude, for all the different gamers,
Red, bro.
For all the different streamers.
You guys seen the Flaming Hot Cheetos Mountain Dew that they released? They got Mountain Dew
delicious.
Flaming Hot. Yeah, I'm all about it. So, Jail, back to the question though. Key lime, apple, cherry, Hershey's chocolate. What percentage of people said key lime was the best pie?
I'm not a pie guy, so this is going to be tough. I'm going to assume 25% across the board across the four options. I'm gonna have to dock Hershey pie for this one. I don't think they quite have the name recognition or the clout that the other ones have. And so I'm thinking that's going to be probably around 8% or so, maybe a little less, maybe like 6%. I'm going to go with 29%. Lock it in. Key lime
Jail
pie.
going with 29% on key lime pie. Coop and Hal, do you think the actual percentage of people that chose key lime pie in this poll is over or under Jail's guess of 29%?
That's a solid line, but I go under on that.
So yeah, first of all, I just scrolled through, I don't know, probably 75 pictures of Hershey's pie, and it looks amazing.
It is really good.
Yeah, and
I mean, like as long as you like to smoke.
Yeah, and Tommy, great point. Unless the people were 80 years old picking Hershey, they're picking, key lime or
is key lime pie an old person pie? I don't know anything about
I'm
pies.
so
guys.
confused about the key lime pie slander. I think everyone's coming in here.
Just when you're a kid, you don't go for, you know what I mean? Like that is, you have to be at a certain. The way I look at it,
liked key lime pie. Maybe I'm off here. This is the
Jail,
worst.
It's my
turn question I could have.
It's me and Hal. It's me and Hal's turn to talk, Joe. So
go ahead.
The like when you get older, you start branching out to more and more stuff. Like when you're a kid, you just pick Hershey's pie. When you get older, it's the older groups that like the pistachio ice creams and all the fancy stuff. So
salami.
branching out to just fancy salamis. But
yeah, the gamer community doesn't strike me as branching out
Key
past apple pie and chocolate pie.
Bro, chocolate pie. Yeah, they're like apple, bro, cherry. So yeah, give me the under on that, dude. Tempted to go way under, but I'm gonna go. Me and Hal will go under here.
How are you in agreement? Under. We got the unders in here, and I see Tommy saying, "When is the last time you had one, Simon?" Honestly, semi-regularly. I'll like be picking out a little treat for myself at the grocery store, and I scoop a frozen key lime pie or some key lime pie ice cream. It's like,
you know
I
what?
love that
Your
flavor.
shock at the slander, key lime pie slander, is giving me a little hope.
Well, just so you know, I truly have not clicked open the answers yet. So I do not know the results. They're all under toggle list. So I have no idea what the result is.
Let me add one last thing, right? This is a streamer. So there's a very real chance that this guy could have had like Dr. Disrespect on, and they had an argument about key lime pie. And then he went out to his followers and was like, who wants to help me support key lime pie in this? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that is a likely outcome.
There could be an army or it could be.
Yeah, are there like 8 people on this poll? How many people actually took this?
Probably
545. 545 votes on this poll.
All right, tell us.
I know, JL. As soon as I said it, it's like it's less than 600.
He was like, please don't ask. Please don't ask.
Well, the actual percentage of people that chose key lime pie in this poll was 22%.
Yes. Oh,
who wins that one? This is super close. So JL, you are going to get 5 points.
Oh, JL wins.
Correctly guessing that. Coop and Hal, you guys get 2 points, making the final score of this game 10-9. JL, you are our winner. Wait,
suck it and send
timeout.
That's on me, Coop, because I gave him advice at the beginning of key lime pie.
We're about to have
you were great. It's not.
We're about to have a Taylor Swift, a La La Land moment here. JL, your guess was 29%, correct?
Yeah.
That is in fact 7 percentage points away, which is more than 5, which is going to give you 3 points.
Garbage.
Giving Coop and Hal the 9-8 win.
Running this competition. What kind of amateur hour is this?
Hey, JL, I'm gonna let you finish. But Hal had one of the best unders of all time. Beyonce guessed one of the best key lime pie numbers of all time. Let's go, baby. Hal.
Killed it. Hal coming on for the W.
Hogs up.
Was that a hog call? That's your hog call?
The hogs are up and the hogs are out. Yeah, Matt, our boss Matt says caller always wins, right?
First rule of show.
You gotta fudge those numbers when Hal gets on here.
Garbage, Matt.
You gotta get some hogs up hats.
We need some hogs up hats.
They got to be trucker hats without a doubt. Like it's got to be like one that stands like a couple inches above your head too.
Pre-grease.
Wait, this is can I bring up something super random?
Of course.
Absolutely.
Okay, we went and watched The Sandlot. There's like an outdoor showing this weekend. Have you guys seen this movie, The Sandlot? You've heard of it?
Great. Like The Sandlot? You're being
The
funny,
Sandlot,
right?
yes.
Okay.
No, The Sandlot. I'm being serious. Have you guys ever noticed the size of that the bill of his hat is absurd. It is like a full 1.5 feet long, the hat that this kid wears. I'm not joking.
Which kid? The main kid? The Baby Ruth kid?
Yeah, I'm going to post it on Twitter at FYF Jon. I'm going to post it on Twitter pretty shortly here once I find this image. But the hat is ridiculously sized, guys.
Let's see. Now I got to see it.
I'm pretty sure it's a fishing hat, right? Like you wear that out there, protect yourself from the sun. You're out on the water all day. You need that long bill if you're catching fish.
You need that long bill.
Why are you so disturbed by this?
Not see it.
Because I'm watching this movie and I'm going, that's a ridiculous hat. Who would ever wear that hat?
It looks like an average size hat to me. Find a new slant.
Massive.
Find a new slant. I'm looking at him right here getting picked on.
You're looking the wrong one. Let me send it to you.
About to tweet it out. Okay, so the picture of him with the black eye, that's a large hat. Okay.
It's very large, I'm telling you.
Okay, so are we getting large hats? Is that what you're saying?
That's what we're getting. Yeah, we need to get.
Would you want a trucker hat or a long billed hat for hogs up?
I like both.
Well, I mean, it is hogs up. Maybe a long bill is better.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah. Final decision made. We're getting those long billed hogs up hats. Hal, I want to thank you so much for coming on and playing some poll reception with us. Congrats on the W, my man.
Whoop, whoop.
Whoop, whoop.
Sweet.
Man, good guy, Hal, coming up here. And and a good name. I just think of Malcolm in the Middle every single time, though.
I know, right?
I gotta stop.
So
I'm
good.
just the whole time I'm thinking about Malcolm in the Middle. And
Strong show.
I don't know what it was yesterday. All these Breaking Bad TikToks kept coming up on my feed, but I've only seen like the first season of that show, but I've seen every episode of Malcolm in the Middle. So it's just this like cognitive dissonance of like, God, Hal is being so serious right now. Like, God, something must have really bothered him. Like, what did Dewey do? Dewey
Settle
must have
down.
gotten into some real trouble at school. Coming up shortly, right after this, we've got Impemba joining the show from Fantasy Alarm. We're going to talk some quarterbacks and then just some other general fantasy stuff and maybe a little bit of hog talk with our friend Impemba. So make sure you guys are sticking around. This is the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Better Sports Network.
Make bets and follow your fantasy team while you buy, sell, and trade collectibles in real time. Only on Better Sports Network.
Surely. Kickers never retire, I think. They just continue playing for all eternity. Like, there's only ever been 30 NFL kickers.
They're always readily available too, it seems. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they just get called up. They're like, you kicked for us 10 years ago, right? Why don't you
run it back? Let's
I imagine
Graham
every
Gano.
single kicker that gets the call is on a high school football field somewhere just practicing field goals after hours. Like it's like 9 p.m. and they're out there just in the local high school kicking field goals and the phone rings. They get a call and they're like, yeah, I'm ready. I've been practicing for this.
I have an amazing kicker story if you guys have a second.
I got a couple.
The number one all-time field goal kicker is Adam Vinatieri. The next two guys are Morton and Gary Anderson, right? Gary Anderson was a dude from like South Africa that just played rugby and soccer. He just could absolutely boot the ball, right? They bring him over and he does like a tryout and he's just absolutely crushing the ball. And all these colleges are like, dude, we want you to come kick field goals for us. And he goes, I don't even want to play football. He goes, I want to play soccer. He goes, I want to play soccer. He goes, so if I can come to your school and play soccer, I'll also, in the fall, I'll kick for the football team. And Syracuse was like, yeah, sure, whatever. Like, you're on the soccer team. Like, come on. And he went to Syracuse to play soccer, but also kick field goals. And then he ended up being a top 3 point scorer in the NFL all the time.
That's ridiculous.
And his answer to recruiters was, I don't want to play football. I'll do it in my spare time.
Yeah. He's like, you got a spot for me in the soccer team. Syracuse is like, yeah, we got a spot for you.
We don't even care about our soccer team.
We don't even care.
We totally have that spot.
Right? They had to like cobble together a soccer team. Like, this guy's the captain.
Oh my God. It's like Accepted, the movie, but they just like had to throw together a whole fake soccer team.
Somehow they still got Justin Long.
Right? Yeah. Like Adam Sandler's the coach. And dude, it's imagine they win the national championship. That's a movie, dog. Yeah.
Boom!
Someone call up Disney. Yeah, we just wrote a movie for you, Disney. This has Disney sports movie written all over. I'm borderline crying right here just thinking about this movie right now.
Dude, the story gets even crazier. Like I should have looked it up again, but like it was like a high school coach that went and found him, and then that high school coach ended up being somebody crazy famous that like coached for the Rams.
Stay tuned for sports. Talk about your picks, your fantasy teams, and your sports collectibles on Better Sports Network.
Welcome back, everybody. Good morning. You're listening to the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Better Sports Network. And we've got a special guest joining the show right now. Jon Impemba from Fantasy Alarm is coming on with us. For those of you that do not know Jon, he is a QB guru. He's the co-host on Sundays from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. right here on Better Network. You can catch him from 9 p.m. to 12 a.m. on Sirius. And he's the host of the Fantasy Alarm DFS podcast. Impemba, thanks so much for joining us today, my man.
Hey, guys. Anytime I can join you all, always a good time, man.
Yeah, that's my boy right there. Fantasy Alarm. I see you got the FA hat going. FA Nation.
You know I'm always on brand, Coop. You know,
Reppin',
I bleed the Fantasy Alarm, so.
That's right.
And is that your kitchen behind you, decked out in Fantasy Alarm stuff?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the set, you know.
The whole house, yeah, the whole house is
Absolutely.
like that actually.
Yeah, it's the wallpaper, it's the front yard, it's everything.
Fantasy alarm blankets, dude.
Right.
The cat comes by, got a little fantasy alarm cat.
Hey, we got the new fantasy alarm store, Coop. You can really buy whatever you want,
Yeah. That is I'm gonna see if I can get some stuff off there, maybe expense it, We'll see.
Well, we got our boy Eric in. We got our boy Eric in the chat saying, Impemba, hyped that you're on here today. And Impemba, I work and grind Hal. He says, I said quarterback guru, and he wants to know your questions. We were talking a little bit about Justin Fields earlier and the concerns we have with him. I think it'd be impossible not to have those concerns right now. Do you think Fields is worth trading for in a 14-team Superflex league right now?
I think anytime you're in a Superflex league, you should probably try to get as much quarterback depth as you probably can. I don't think Fields is going to be as bad as he's been to start the year. Obviously, really bad weather conditions in week 1. Week 2, I'm not really sure what the game plan was there. Only 11 pass attempts is a little bit concerning, but you have to look at who they have available to them really to catch the football. Darnell Mooney was locked down with Jair Alexander. For one reason or another, Cole Kmet hasn't been involved through 2 weeks. When Equanimeous St. Brown is your leading receiver with like 3 targets, there's a game plan problem there. And a lot of us were happy to see Matt Nagy go, but now we're wondering if even that was a mistake. So I think there's still some potential for him. I think a lot of the criticism that team is likely going to be receiving this week may sway the coaches a bit more to open the game plan up a bit. You got to do what Justin Fields does best, but it also needs the skill players around him to help him succeed. They ran the ball really well. That's probably going to be a fun way to run their offense, but you got to play off that run and allow Fields to do some play action, some RPO, use that mobility to create some pass plays.
Right. Ridiculous to only throw. And the reality is that during the bulk of that game, he was 7-9 going into that last drive where they threw twice and he threw a pick, but it was obviously panic time. But dude, to throw 9 times, unacceptable behavior. I feel.
Yeah, especially when you're trailing in a game like that, there's no way to catch up when your idea is just to run the football as much as they were. So definitely a game plan problem there. I'm not really sure why there wasn't any adjustments made at halftime either to throw anymore. So I would expect them to come out and probably change some things up a little bit.
God, I was so excited to see this Justin Fields-led offense without Matt Nagy, and so far disappointing. So far very disappointing. But I'm with you. Maybe optimistic that they can that this pressure and the results so far will lead to some changes for this offense, which is what Fields needs in order to be successful right there.
Yeah. And so while we're on kind of Fields and the QB kind of 10 to 15, 16 range, we got some questions earlier with people trying to decide what to do at quarterback. I have a league where I had Dak and I've been kind of bouncing around a bit.
Sure.
How would you rank kind of the hot waiver names? So right now it's obviously Tua, Carson Wentz, even Trevor Lawrence a little bit there. Jameis Winston was mentioned. If you're sitting there and you got Jared Goff as well, if you're sitting there and you're trying to pivot off maybe a Kirk Cousins or you're not happy with Derek Carr or
Justin Fields.
Yeah, right. Dak, right? So who would you go for out of that crew, out of the guys that are readily available in a lot of leagues?
Dustin throwing another one in there, Jimmy G as another name to throw in there.
Yeah, I think if you're looking for sort of at least like a 1 week play, Wentz has I think he's got Detroit this week. So that's to me, that's a really good matchup for him where Detroit's been giving up a ton of yards.
They just played Detroit.
Just played Detroit. Okay, who they
next week? I think they are. So another one that those games have been going, going back and forth.
They've got the Eagles next week.
Eagles. Okay, so that's what I meant. Yeah, so Philly just played Detroit. So that's what I was looking at there. So so they have a good matchup in Philly. I know last night they shut down Minnesota, but the way that offense has been rolling with Wentz and the Commanders, I would kind of go in that direction. The pass catching options that they have here, where the way Dotson's come on, Samuel, obviously, Logan Thomas coming back and looking healthy, and they still have Terry McLaurin. There's just a lot of good pass catching options for that team there. So I kind of like rolling Wentz. I don't know if Tua is going to be available in as many leagues, depending on what platform you're on. I know I've seen some where he's available in like 60%. I've seen some where he's available in 30% across sort of the industry. So if Tua is available, not an easy matchup for him either with Buffalo this week. So I'm not sure if you want to go in that direction. Marcus Mariota is an interesting 1 week stop. He's got Seattle this week. If you're looking for some mobility upside with him, he's looked good with London. We all hope at some point they're going to throw to Kyle Pitts a little bit more. So a matchup against Seattle could be somebody that you look at for.
I like that. Yeah, I just pulled it up. The over under for that Eagles Washington game is a 50 bomb, 50.5. So
Yeah.
So definitely a exciting game.
Yeah, a lot of points generally scored out of the way. I mean, last night, Kirk Cousins, you just got prime time Kirk Cousins on display, where a guy doesn't know how to play quarterback anymore. So, I wouldn't really expect, the Eagles defense is as good as I think they are. We've seen two different performances out of them where the Lions put up a bunch of points and then they shut down Minnesota. So.
I see Hal in here asking, did Big Play Slay get hurt at the end of that game last night? I think he's okay. I haven't seen any reports saying that he's going to miss time or anything. So I think Darius Slay is good to go. One of the quarterbacks that did get brought up, Dustin bringing up Jimmy G. I'm curious what your expectations are for him stepping in here. Like, is he someone who steps into this kind of like consideration of people we need to start? Is this offense going to look like it did last year with Jimmy G in it?
Yeah, so I actually wrote an article on him yesterday and kind of the prospects of replacing Trey Lance and if Garoppolo was worthy of the waiver claim. In terms of fantasy points per game, his 2 full seasons where he started, he's averaged less than 17 fantasy points per game for the season. So he's kind of got middling weeks. He's probably a better stream starter than he is someone that you're going to rely on week in, week out. But this offense obviously does become a little bit more traditional with Garoppolo under center than with Trey Lance under center, where you kind of can have an understanding the running backs are going to have their roles. You trust him as a passer more than you probably trusted Trey Lance. So good news if you're got Brandon Ayuk or Deebo Samuel there. Garoppolo has been a fairly accurate quarterback. He doesn't really throw downfield a lot, but those guys are great getting in space and kind of creating. So if you're in the right matchup for Garoppolo as a weekly streamer, I think that's fine. Can you go out there and win your fantasy league week to week with him? Probably not.
So for the skill position players on that, the Deebo, the Brandon Ayuk, are you expecting the same type of usage as we saw last year with Jimmy Garoppolo under center?
I would think so. I don't know if Deebo Samuel's going to go out there and have 1,400 yards receiving again. But the one thing I liked more so with Garoppolo there is now it gives a little bit more security to those running backs, right? When Trey Lance was expected quarterback, what do we see a lot of times with these mobile quarterbacks? They get in the red zone and they take it themselves. It kind of eliminates any sort of rushing touchdown upside for the most part for the running backs in those offenses. With Garoppolo now back there, you're going to see Jeff Wilson have some touchdown equity. You're going to see Deebo Samuel likely get more touchdown rushing opportunities when they get in the red zone. So I do like that now for that offense. Again, it just sort of like fits players in their positions a little bit better, and you kind of have an understanding of their role. And that's my big key thing when evaluating fantasy players. It's like, do they have a set role? Do you have an understanding of where they fit in their offense and how this team plans on using those players? Sometimes there's a lot of ambiguity with certain offenses and how they want to run schemes. With Garoppolo, a traditional quarterback under center, this is their running back. These are their wide receivers. This is how the offense is going to move. And you can find a little bit more consistency and trust those players week to week.
Such a good point, dude, because think about it. It's not just the only offense where that works, right? Like if Jalen Hurts goes down, Miles Sanders, move him up how far? You know what I mean? Like Jalen Hurts
should already be up there, Coop. You know that. But
but he just Hurts took he had 2 rushing touchdowns yesterday.
Yeah.
Like those go to Miles Sanders, right? Same with there's a few of those guys. If Lamar Jackson goes down, we've seen it with
Josh Allen for a long time, right? Who sealed the touchdowns in the red zone. The running backs wouldn't really score them. So yeah, any sort of Lamar Jackson, even though they have Huntley behind him, similar skill set there. But any mobile quarterbacks generally in the red zone, those running backs don't get the rushing work. We saw that with Cam Newton, a couple of years ago when he had his with the Patriots when he had his 12 touchdowns, and the running backs didn't have anything there. So you put a traditional quarterback under center, it kind of slots everybody back into where they are.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing, dude. Like, I think, you and I have a ton of Jalen Hurts, so we're rooting for Jalen Hurts. But,
I was obnoxious with my Jalen Hurts fandom during this preseason. And so far, through 2 weeks, I am very happy to have all those receipts. So we'll see how it ends.
I'm happy to have them too, man. Like, I was following you on that one because, dude, you're the quarterback guy. Like, that's what I do. I just ask you what to do, and then we do it, and feeling pretty good. Like, I've got a good amount of Jalen Hurts. We were dabbling a little in Tua, despite Howard Bender trying to rain on that parade.
Well, my biggest thing with Tua, and I talked about this, I have when I was on Seriously, was you looked at where his top 2 wide receivers were being drafted. They were being drafted among the top 15 wide receivers to go off the board in Hill and Waddle. But Tua was coming off the board at QB 17. And you're like, what is the mistake here? Either Tua is going way too late to support 2 top 15 wide receivers, or the wide receivers were being drafted too early. So far, at least after last week, it seems like maybe Tua was being taken a little bit too late. So We'll see how that rest of that season plays out. Like I said, they got a really tough matchup this week, but they're at least home versus Buffalo, so they might have a little bit of an advantage there.
So while we got you here, you are the quarterback guy. You write the DFS articles over on Fantasy Alarm. Right now, there's a sale going on there where you can get 50% off. It's like $20 a month. We literally made a millionaire last year. Fantasy Alarm.
We did
DFS.
week three last season.
Millionaire
This week
Mike.
last season, we turned a millionaire Mike, as we like to affectionately dub him.
We don't mess around. Like out there, there's people, they might take somebody like, I don't know, like a Simon or something and have them write every single position. What we do is we have each person focuses on one position. I write just tight ends. You write just quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
So I know you can't give us all the coordinates, all the plays for this week. We got to save some for Fantasy Alarm members, but can you give us somebody that you think is kind of a sneakier play this week in
just
DFS?
a little treat, sir. Just one.
Just a little.
Just one, please.
Yeah, I mean, listen. Outside of the obvious liking Hurts as a top play against Washington, Derek Carr is really cheap again, and he gets Tennessee, and we've seen how bad that team has been through 2 weeks. You were always looking in DFS ways to stack, and Devontae Adams is very expensive. Darren Waller is very expensive, so it's very nice to have their quarterback be a value play, and that's where Derek Carr finds himself this week on the DraftKings slate. So for me, Carr is going to be in a lot of my lineups here against Tennessee. He's probably going to be popular, but that's because you're paying up for Adams. You got to fit him in there. So that's a play that I'm going to be keying in on this week.
Absolutely.
Love it.
We had a super chat question come in. This one's not QB related, but you're skipping the line, Lucius, right here. He said just had a trade request came in with him giving J-Rob for Mike Evans. He's really short on wide receiver on this team. So trading away James Robinson for Mike Evans. This is a slam dunk yes, regardless of format, right? Is anyone here taking the James Robinson side?
Impemba?
Crickets.
I mean, Robinson's looked really good, but you're looking at the pass catching options in Tampa Bay, and they're all injured, right? They're bringing in Cole Beasley to fill in some depth. Can you live without Mike Evans for a week? I guess is the question, because he's suspended for a game. So that's where I'm at with that. But Robinson's looked really good. He's been the number one running back in Jacksonville, like they kind of told us it was going to happen. Etienne's been super inconsistent with his role there. So running back depth versus wide receiver depth, it depends on how secure you are at that position for me.
Coop, what about you?
This to me is an easy one, because he says right in the comment, I'm really short at wide receiver on this team. So already in a vacuum, I think I'd be taking Mike Evans here, but then taking into the context of your team needs, that absolutely pushes me over the edge. This is an auto take.
Yeah, I'm slamming it, and especially because one, it's not like Mike Evans is hurt; he's suspended. Like he's going to come back and be 100% when he gets back. So you're not like buying into injuries or anything here. And the other is that I don't think it's crazy for that to get that he's appealing it. I don't think it's crazy for that to get overturned. I mean, you go back and watch that. Yeah, he did shove the guy, dude. But I mean,
He came in from the sideline.
But
I definitely have gotten one of those when I was growing up playing sports, or you come in off the sideline to hit somebody and
that's what it is. If he was on the field already, maybe he would have got. But the fact that he ran from off the field onto the field, I think that's
probably that's probably the thing.
And
But
he's
it's like,
done
dude,
it before.
Marshawn Lattimore started the whole thing, and it's just, dude, it's such a. I told you guys it's going to happen. I said it both on both of our shows.
Called it. I gave you credit immediately on Twitter. Yeah.
I was like, they do this every time, dude. Mike Evans can't contain himself, dude.
It's because he can't win that matchup. He's never had success against Lattimore, so he gets frustrated with it.
You guys,
and then he says,
"You guys ever been ejected?"
I would have had a great game, but I got thrown out again.
You guys ever been ejected from a sporting event, like thrown out, not just like
100%.
fouled out or something? But have you been ejected from a game?
Yeah, we had one. I used to play basketball really competitively growing up, and we had a game where the entire parent section of our team, like the entire side, was ejected. My brother brought me to that game, and he's just sitting there quietly. Like, my parents are out of town. He's just like, bring me to the game. And he's sitting out in the hallway watching from inside the window, because he also got ejected because the parents are talking too much.
Yeah, dude. I think half of our intramural games in college ended with the ref being like, that's enough. That's enough. That the game's over. And we're like, who won? He's like, whoever's winning right now. And we'd be like, yes. Just like ripping jerseys and like stepping on people's feet. Like one of my buddies
ejected a lot.
Yeah, one of my buddies lined up. Like what he would do is like, because dude, the refs, they didn't care. So like the play would start and he'd line up at cornerback and he would literally put his toes on top of the other dude's feet. And the dude would be like, "What? Are you seeing this?" And the ref would be like, "Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
I get $5 to ref this game. Is this over yet?" So yeah, we've had quite a few ejections in that format.
And Pemba,
Never
you ever
any
been ejected?
ejections. I fouled out my fair share of times and playing in-town basketball though. So we've been there.
I'm with you. I had a whole season where I fouled out more times than points I scored in a rec basketball league in middle school. Not like fouls.
You were
fouled
like
out more.
You were like
times
the bad
than
boy.
points scored.
You're the bad
I was-
boy of the team. You're the enforcer.
Yeah, that's one
center,
way to talk about it.
Third grade basketball coming in like Frank Lambeer. You're like the Dennis Rodman. They couldn't find you the next game and you were in Vegas, like just partying out.
And then the next week I was in North Korea, just out there. Yeah. Those are the field trips I was going on. No, it was because I was terrible at basketball was the problem. I was the shortest guy on the court by about like 10 inches, but I refused to acknowledge that I was the shortest guy on the court by about 10 inches. And so there was just a lot of fouls and not a lot of points scored for me on that one.
Just climbing that tree, dude. There you go.
I was always playing center, so I was just taking the hits in the lane. So
John, no, we're both from the New England area, we're both Patriots fans.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of rumblings. I've been hearing a lot of it that maybe the Dolphins are just great, and the Patriots, won this week. Lost to the Dolphins, a fantastic team. Pretty much everyone's talking about this, not just me. But maybe the Patriots aren't such a bad team after all. Got to match up with the Ravens this week. Looking like the Ravens might be favored by a little bit, but it's only +3 is the line there. So what do you think? Are the Patriots dust, or can they beat this Ravens team this week?
Probably not. Probably can't beat the Ravens, but I'm hopeful for that. I do think that, I've seen similar reporting, maybe that you've seen as well, that maybe the Patriots defense isn't as bad as some people had initially assumed that it would be. The fact that they were able to hold Miami relatively in check after what they did last week, and then they go out and manage to beat Mitch Trubisky. What a task. So now they have Lamar Jackson, which Belichick has had success generally against in the past. He has a good track history against mobile quarterbacks. So we'll see if that defense can hold still. I'll be interested more so to see if Dobbins plays or not for Baltimore this week. And how that run game goes. Patriots offense though versus Baltimore. I don't know. I don't know if you heard the comments from Mac Jones. Basically, he alluded that the offensive game plans now are to be more willing to take 50-50 shots downfield. He said basically when Aguilar was running downfield, they're basically now like, hey, go up there, let your receivers try to make plays on those 50-50 balls. It's sort of a new strategy that they're going to be implementing. So maybe we'll see more big plays out of the Patriots offense this season. If they're willing to accept the possibility of a turnover or two. So I thought those comments from Mac Jones were a little bit telling.
Yeah. I mean, I read the same comments that you were saying. And like, what sucks is that it comes at a time where like, we can't trust a guy like Hunter Henry. And then he comes out and says they're going to do more 50-50 balls. And, the targets for Hunter Henry are going to come. Don't worry. I'm not worried about it. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, man, just when I was out,
I was surprised
they pull me back in.
I was surprised to see Jonnu Smith actually get more targets in week 1. And then I don't know if you saw the same thing, Coop, but they started playing Lil Jordan Humphrey as sort of that hybrid tight end receiver because of his blocking grade. He had a really good blocking grade in week 2 and was out there on their final drive, basically playing that N'Keal Harry blocking wide receiver role there as they close out that game. So
it's misleading. His name is misleading because you see the Lil Jordan Humphrey and you think he's like a little slot guy, and then you see him on the field and you're like, dude, this guy's 6'4", 225. Like, this is not little.
Big Jordan Humphrey.
It should be big Jordan, big Jordan Hog-free, right?
Right, we had another quarterback question in the chat, and Pemba, hoping you can help us out. This person's looking at picking up Jimmy G and wondering, Jimmy G over Mac Jones, Brissett, and Mariota. Would you be taking Jimmy G over those 3 players, or would you prefer one of those other 3 guys?
I think I like Mariota more for a 1-week play for this week against Seattle. I just think, again, that mobility with him gives him a higher ceiling than I think you're going to see at Garoppolo this week. And plus, you just have that connection the way Drake London's looked. I think this could be a week again where maybe they use Pitts. I mean, Arthur Smith's kind of getting killed for not using him. And his comments like we're trying to win football games, and it's like, hey, Arthur, you're 0-2. Maybe maybe that's a reason for it because you're not allowing your likely best wide receiver pass catching option there to catch football. So we'll see if that changes some things or not for Atlanta this week. I don't think Atlanta's a good football team, but I think Mariota in fantasy, that mobility is just a game changer.
Arthur Smith in press conferences just screams like, I'd rather get fired than admit I was wrong. Like every word that comes out of his mouth says like, I will never admit this. I will get fired first and I'll get fired again and fired again. I am right is like the vibes I get from that dude.
Right.
That was me and JL yesterday on the show when we were like, we were going to eat crow for Amon-Ra St. Brown, but then we ended up being like, well, I mean, think about how many few people have been to the moon, right? Like, it's just, like, I mean, how often does a pro golfer
moving the goalposts?
How often does a pro golfer hit a hole in one? You know, like we're supposed to get all these right. You know, but
yeah, come on, don't be realistic.
I'm with Arthur Smith on that one, dude. Never eat crow.
Yeah.
Never eat crow. We had another question. Speaking of Mariota, and this is going against a guy that we talked about maybe as the preferred quarterback off waiver wires, but with a very tough matchup this week. This person said, hello, my quarterback was Lance. I have no backup. Should I pick up Mariota or should I pick up Tua? So Mariota going against the Seahawks, like you said, Tua going against the Bills, but Lance is out for the whole year. So this person either needs to commit to streaming or maybe pick up one of these guys for the long term. And Pembo, what's your take here, Mariota or Tua?
Yeah, I mean, I think 2 is your long-term play, at least on the outset after a 2-week sample size. If you can afford to pick them both up, I'd probably pick them both up and maybe go with Mariota for this week and Tua for season long. So that's how I would prioritize them. If you want to just go for the one quarterback, pick up Tua now because he's going to be gone. So.
Yeah, I'm going Tua as well here, but I don't mind the picking up both of them if you've got the room.
Tua has a really, really, really tough playoff schedule. And I know it's too early to start looking at that. He's on the road for, I think it's like 3 of the final 4 games going into the playoffs, and a couple of them are some tough matchups. So, it could also be something to look forward to if you are a Miami Dolphins fantasy manager there. So.
Absolutely. Impemba, I want to thank you so much for coming on today, my man. Really appreciate you dropping the QB knowledge.
Yeah, anytime you guys want me on, I'm always available. So happy to be part of the show, and keep up the good work, guys.
Appreciate you. Guys, likewise, brother.
Go follow our friend Jon Impemba over on Twitter at jimpemba777 for that hot quarterback news and takes over there. Thanks again, Impemba. Have a good rest of your day, man.
Yeah, you too, guys. See you later.
Later, brother. Yeah, we got to get him on. I think, like he said, he's around. So anytime we get a good QB waiver wire week, perfect dude to come on, especially because his quarterback article drops today. So he's got the DFS QBs ready to go. He's got the QB waiver ads. He's done the research. So we'll keep that in mind. If we get a hot QB week, we'll bring Impemba back.
So Joe, here's what we're doing, me and you, okay? We're slowly building out our infinity gauntlet of experts at certain positions. So we have to learn less and less. Coop, he's got tight ends covered for us. We don't even have to worry about it. Just read Coop's articles. And Pemba, got quarterbacks for us.
Tight end is the pinky.
Tight end is the pinky.
I think it's the most important finger.
Yeah, the pinky, the most important finger, of course.
Good save.
We got Impemba with the QBs, right? So now we don't even have to worry about QB anymore. We can just follow Impemba's advice. Linda with the kickers.
Linda's with the kickers.
Linda's with the kickers.
Kicker is the middle finger because I feel like that's the only thing I can give Linda. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
But that's the finger she gives everyone when they say ban kickers. Yeah. That is the Linda reaction. And then we just need a running back and a wide receiver guy, JL. Otherwise,
those are you two guys.
Those spots.
Those are you two guys, man.
Oh,
there you
go. Did we just find our arc, our story
niche,
arc?
Honestly, there's not a lot of people in the fantasy space talking about RBs.
Yeah,
right.
And wide receivers.
Be the RB and the WR whisperers.
Not a lot of people. Not a lot of people focusing on that.
Maybe we niche down even further. Like you be the fullback guy, and I be just the slot wide receiver guy. We're talking only slot wide receivers.
I have multiple. I'll get multiple signed jerseys behind me, but they're all Kyle Juszczyk.
Reggie Gilliam or Juszczyk. Go quick.
Juszczyk.
Good pick. Great pick.
He's the answer to every question, no matter what.
Also, I love Dustin and Tim going back and forth in the chat. Finn's about to stun the Bills, and Dustin's saying, you shut your mustache-covered mouth, Tim. Guys, that is going to be it for us this morning here on Better Sports Network. Stick around right after this for Keith and Moose live here. We'll be back tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Eastern time, but if you want to hang out with us some more, check out our channel, Front Yard Fantasy. We have another show at 3 p.m. Eastern time today. We'll see you guys over there. Adios.